the phrase, "You think you're cooler than the other side of the pillow, don't you?" was said quite a bit yesterday.
Oh,
Fucking
Poseidon, you think you're cooler than the other side of the pillow, don't you?
God. Poseidon definitely thinks he's cooler than the other side of the pillow. Let's call it like it is.
Mickey,
All right.
you should 100% play God of War because I know you're into the Greek mythology as well.
I super am.
It's pretty fun. I'll talk
That's
about it
good.
more on the podcast.
Yes.
Yes! I fucking found the notifications page. Okay, awesome. I had to do some
Now tell
digging through
them
the
to fuck
settings.
off.
Yeah, exactly.
Intense digging, so much so that I thought you like fucking left for a minute, and I didn't hear
I
the reason
did.
why you left.
I went into like a Mayan temple, and then I found the answer. Now I'm back.
You grabbed the golden statue on the pillar, but replaced it with just the right amount of
Exactly
sand.
right.
So the booby traps. Yeah.
Hmm.
But you were still chased by a giant ball anyway.
No, most of my time there was just spent figuring out what the exact weight would be, being paranoid I was going to be chased by a giant ball. But I made it out.
You planned out your route, and then you didn't need to, and you're like, "Well, I mean, better safe than sorry, I guess."
I spent a
Yeah,
solid
I mean,
hour balancing out the weight.
I feel like that was pretty extra.
Well, here I am,
That would have
unbuldified.
made a very boring movie.
Yes. Just the whole
Just
hour.
Indiana Jones just testing the weight for like an hour.
That's why it was an
And
exciting
then he
movie.
gets it.
It's just because he didn't weigh it out enough. He didn't take his time weighing it out. And therefore,
Yeah, let's
it's
be
a movie you
honest.
want to watch.
He was probably the worst archaeologist because he had no attention to detail. Like, just brute forced his way through everything.
Exactly. A real Indiana Jones would just solve the problem and not run from it. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Indy?
Last
The
time
rock's
I checked,
chasing you.
most archaeologists' weapon is like a brush, not a whip.
Fucking-
He whips the dirt off the bones. While...
Hey everyone, it's a podcast. So I got a question this week. What was the first game you guys beat?
I mean, I could say infancy.
Wait,
That shit was like a big
infancy? What?
infancy.
Really
I beat
quiet.
that shit real hard by growing up. Oh, I was
Oh.
speaking quiet.
Are you fucking
Oh.
serious? I'm gonna punch you for that.
Yeah, do it.
I don't follow.
Um,
You beat a game that was called Infancy? What?
No, I
beat
was an
infancy.
infant, and then I grew up in
by growing up.
Oh, I see. I
You're a
beat
fucking
breathing.
edgelord.
I beat the game that was
Damn.
inhale, exhale. Before I ever beat
Damn.
that.
That's a good one.
Yep. It was tough, but I got all the achievements unlocked.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's a tough one.
What was the actual first game that you beat, asshole?
Jack and Daxter. Asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, calling you as you are, fucker.
Jack and Daxter 1.
Yeah, Jack and Daxter. Now, to be fair, if you know anything about Jack and Daxter, you know the first
I
one's
don't.
called Jack and Daxter, but the second one's called Jack 2, and the third one is Jack 3. And then there's Jack X Combat Racing. And then there's fucking Jack the fucking Frontier I don't know, but that I pretend that one doesn't exist 'cause it's really bad.
Wasn't there
frontier
one
of we don't
only
know.
starring Daxter on the PSP?
Yeah,
Ian, you should
I
know
did play that
this.
one. I also played that one.
The Lost Frontier.
Yeah, The Lost Frontier.
That's basically what you said.
It's awful. It's a bad one.
Huh.
But yeah, there was also one for the PSP that I also played called Daxter. And it was fucking garbage because almost every game on the PSP had terrible controls.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I always
Yeah,
thought that
it was
system was
bad.
cool because it was like the first system that ever had a little thumbstick on the actual, like a portable console. I thought that was dope. But that's all that I remember the PSP for. Never wanted to get one.
Yeah, my brother was actually talking about the PSP last night. He was just like, it was super cool for a minute. He's like, but guess what? My phone can do the same shit that it does now, so it's whatever. And I'm like, no, because it was like really revolutionary. He's like, yeah, and now it sucks. It's like it's fine. He's
Yeah.
like, that's just how technology works. He's like, it's fine. He's like, it just is not a good system anymore.
Yeah.
Used to do all types of crazy stuff and even be able to connect to the internet and download videos, but
You know, yeah, you know what does that now? My phone.
my phone.
Did they ever release like different kinds of PSPs, or was it just one PSP?
I think it was PSP and oh, I guess PS Vita isn't necessarily the same thing.
Yeah.
There was a
No.
PSP
The
Plus.
Vita, the Vita is the little Liam Anime Boy device.
Also known as.
The
But
PS Vita.
really, it was just the one PSP. They didn't go the Nintendo route and like remake a bunch of models.
Turns out there are totally three. There's the PSP 3000, the PSP Go, and the PSP Portable Slim and Light.
Shit.
Oh,
What's this PSP E1000 business? Is that a
I
fifth
think
Yeah.
it
one?
was just the standard PSP.
Oh.
It just looks like a
The
regular
basic
PSP.
bitch.
what a basic bitch.
Yep. Huh.
That's the one I had,
It came out October 2008.
Wow.
and I got mine around that time as well.
PSP Go looks weird. I don't like how there's no thumbstick. That was like the whole point of the PSP. What's up with
Oh,
that? That
I don't
looks
like
like a fucking slider texty phone. Anyways. Alright, so you beat Jack and Daxter first. You were also saying that the
But-
first game that you beat you 100%ed.
Yeah, the first game that I ever 100%ed was Final Fantasy X, and
Oh.
oh boy, let me tell you, that took a fuck ton of time. Because there's a point in the game where you can totally beat it, but there are like 2 or 3 end game bosses that are fucking crazy hard,
Hmm.
and it requires you to max out all your characters. So you played a little bit of Final Fantasy 15. You remember the sphere grid, right?
Right.
So that sphere grid, every empty node has to have a thing that was put into it, say like a health node or a strength node or
Right.
something like that, and every node has to be activated on every character.
Like,
So
or else you will fail? Or like,
yeah, or else you will fail.
what?
Yeah,
You miss a
there-
single node, and then you now can't beat the game.
well,
That's
you can
crazy.
you can super beat the game. You just can't really. It's you need all of those things plus a really really fucking good strategy to beat penance, which is the hardest one. And it was fucking yeah, it was real bad. It was real hard.
Wait,
'Cause
actually, are these
basically-
bosses required to beat the game, or is this just because
No,
you're 100%?
It's an optional.
Okay.
I just did it because I was 100%ing
see.
it. No, you don't need this. You absolutely don't. Basically, you could go through the game and never like grind to level up your characters and be totally okay. You don't need to do any of the optional stuff, and you'll be
Okay.
completely fine.
That
but
seems
I
a
did
lot
all
more
the
fair now. Okay.
So I fucking dodged 200 lightning bolts in the thunder plains, and I fucking did the chocobo race with Titus, which is the absolute cancer. If like I thought Monster Hunter World had bad hitboxes, birds literally the literal hitbox is a gigantic fucking rectangle that extends 10 feet past each of their wings, and if you get hit by that hitbox, you cannot beat the race with the best time. Plus, you need to get like 8. You need to basically there's a race. If you get hit by a bird, time gets added and your character stops. If you collect balloons, time gets removed, and you want to try to beat the race with less than 0 seconds. So you have to collect about 8 balloons and not get hit by any birds. The balloons hitbox is a tiny pixel in the center of the balloon, while the bird's hitbox is a gigantic rectangle that extends 10 feet in either direction of the bird. And they will they will literally just pop into existence, spawn right next to you, and hit you. And they will also just randomly change direction straight into you. So that was infuriating, but I did that. I did the whole huge world blitzball tournament, which wasn't that hard. It just took a ton of time. Fucking collected one monster, 10 monsters from every single region to get Orin's weapon. I fucking found Riku's weapon, and it was, yeah, I did all the major weapons and then did all the bosses, and it took like probably 250 hours. Not to mention the grind to actually finish it was like really, really meta. You had to like, there was an enemy that hit the amount of damage he does is dependent on the amount of damage he does is dependent on how many enemies you've killed. So you have to kill a fuck ton of enemies so he does max damage, and then you have to set your team up in a way where he won't attack one person, he'll attack the other two people. Those two people will have an overdrive mode where they'll give all their overdrive to one person that's still alive, and that one person will get overdrive every time their teammates get hurt, and then you get a skill that converts overdrive into XP, and then from there that XP will actually go into your levels. So you grind this fight out for like 5 minutes, and then you beat him because he'll just automatically die after a while, and that one character will get like 4 million experience, and then once you get 4 million experience, that'll get you so you could get like 10 or 12 spheres. But then you run out of spheres, so then you got to do another grind where there's an RNG where he has a chance of dropping 20 of one specific item or 2 of one specific item. 70% of the time he'll drop the 20 of the one specific item, so then you hit him with an attack that changes that item into a certain type of sphere that you need, then you kill him, and then you get it, and you have to do that like 7 times so you can build up enough again, and then you just repeat the process. That grind to get everyone's level up took me fucking probably 100 hours of the game.
I don't know, man. Sounds pretty easy. I don't see what the problem is.
Yeah, man, I think you just need to get fucking good, is what it sounds like.
Sounds like a basic video game routine. Equivalent to jumping and grabbing a mushroom in Super Mario.
Jump or shoot.
Jump or shoot, man.
Jump or shoot. So when you say 100%, I want to define that. Do you like? Is there literally not a single thing that you could do if you went back and played that game now?
There's things I could do, but I would just be repeating them. Like I did everything.
Right.
I could go back and do something, but it's something I've already done.
Okay.
No, so I think the question was, if you were to go back to that game, is there anything you haven't done? That
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean that answers my question still, because if everything that there is to do is only a repeat of what you've already done, but now at the same time, you didn't miss anything along the way? Like there's not any missed opportunities.
I mean, sure, I probably like missed an item or two in a chest, but that's not. I don't consider that 100%ing it.
Oh my! Oh, that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
What?
You missed a fucking chest.
Are these
Oh my God.
consumables or?
Yeah, they're consumables. They're like potions and high potions.
Yeah.
There's stuff you can buy in a store. It doesn't matter. I got all the important items and all of the weapons that don't matter once you get your limit break weapons.
Okay.
And I got all of the overdrives for every character, which is something you super don't need to do, but I did anyway.
So I'm kind of considering that to like similar to like in a Zelda game, you didn't smash all the small pots that might have like a ruby or a heart inside.
No. That's not 100%ing it. That's just being a psychopath.
Fucking
Right.
all right.
Well, I also wouldn't include that. Yeah, but or like in Assassin's Creed, you're not gonna have killed every single guard. But okay. Like I go pretty extreme in my defining of that. Like I think that there should be basically nothing except for like nothing that you haven't done except for like step, like put your feet in every possible placement on the fucking world map. And but yeah, those are fair exclusions as well.
I even beat the fucking Dark Aeons, which is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Fuck those things. There's a dark version of every Aeon that you can defeat, and they're insanely powerful.
All right, cool. Haley, what was the first game that you beat? Not 100%.
So the first game I beat, like just by myself, which to me was a huge accomplishment, was actually Kingdom Hearts 1.
Damn.
And it was, I was 12 years old. No, 11 or 12. I had just bought my own PlayStation because I was hell bent. My brother used to play Final Fantasy when I was a kid, so that was like super cool to me. And then when Kingdom Hearts came out, I was super stoked because I'm like, holy shit, there's Donald, and then there's this big shoe dude. That's pretty cool. So I was like 5 or 6 when I watched him play it, and so I would try to play it, and I was terrible because I'm 5. So for years, I would try to play it by myself, and I couldn't. And my brother's mentality was if I ever had to ask for help or I had to ask him to do something for me, he would play the rest of the game so I could figure out how to do it. And so and that was how it goes. So I would get to a boss and I'd have to be like, RJ, I can't do this. And he'd be like, okay, cool. And he'd beat the boss and then play the rest of the game for me. And that was how our relationship was. And I was like, fuck. And so I finally sat down after I got my PlayStation. I was like, fuck this, I'm doing it. I got this. And I sat down for like for an entire week during summer vacation, and I finally fucking did it. And as I ran out, I told my brother, I was like, I did it. He's like, cool, just in time for the second game. And I was like, what the fuck? Excuse me? And so the first game I ever beat by myself was Kingdom Hearts 1 after fucking the struggle of, because actually for a long time too I couldn't use my brother's PlayStation because I was a fucking heathen when it came to games. I would just leave him out. And so my brother was like, nah, go fuck yourself, play with your own games and your own PlayStation if you're gonna be a jackass.
Absolutely.
Like, oh.
Jeez.
Yeah, and so I'm very much of that opinion now. I'm like, oh man, you can't treat my shit good, I guess you don't get my shit.
What were you thinking, toddler Haley?
I know, right? Little me, not fucking knowing what I was doing.
Jeez.
But I used to leave them out and I'd just stack them up so games would get scratched all to shit.
Yikes.
And yeah, and so after a while my brother was like, alright, no, fuck yourselves. Play your own shit. I was like, aw. And then as I got older, I got my own games and I would play it on his PlayStation only as long as I wasn't a jackass. And then I finally was like, you know what? I'm gonna get my own. And I did it. And then I became just as fucking anal as he was. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Put my game back in the case. No, it's fine. No, it's not. Put it back. Jackass.
I think you have to be. It's good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When I was a kid,
Well,
I definitely
yeah.
did that same shit. Like I'm recalling back on it now. I would take all my discs out of the cases and then just like lay them out on the carpet so I could like see all of my disc covers all at once side by side. And now I'm just like, son of a bitch, all those GameCube games that I did that with, they're just the most scratched in my collection. They're still playable, fortunately. I haven't run into any game that's like just absolutely unplayable. Except for like,
I mean, that's good.
Maybe San Andreas on the PS2. I think that one I did one too many times. But yeah. I also like your older brother's role in that. That was like the perfect older brother role throughout all of that. He was just...
Oh yeah, like, yep, his mentality anytime I had to ask for help on a game was, if you're asking me for help, it means you can't do it or you don't have the ability to do it, which means you fucked up somewhere. So if I have to do it, I will do it, and I'll show you how I did it, but then I'm gonna play the rest of this shit, and you get to see how I do it, and then you can go back and do it. And I was like, okay. And so the closest I ever got before I finally beat it was, I was probably like 8 or 9, and I got so close to the end, and there was just one fight. I just couldn't do it. I spent an hour on it, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't get it. And so I go downstairs, and I remember just the shame I felt. I walked downstairs into my brother's room, and I stood in the doorway, and he's like, what's up? And I'm like, I need your help. He's like, with what? I'm like, I can't. Do you know in Hollow Bastion, there's like that fight with Riku, and he laughed. He's like, do you need help? I'm like, yeah. He's like, if I play it, I'm like, I know. I can't do it. He's like, okay, bring it down. So I brought it down. I got it all plugged in, and then I just had to sit solemnly. And then he fucking beat it. Like, it almost instantaneously. I was furious. And he's just like, all right, so now you see how I do it. So now let's play the rest of this. I was like, oh. I was so, like, disheartened, because I felt like I was so close. And I was like, oh, man. So the next time when I finally got my PlayStation, I was like, no, I'm doing this. I'm going to do it by myself. I'm not going to need my brother. I'm going to be great. And, like, my brother was always like that for any game I had to play. It wasn't just because, and for the most part, it was because my brother was, like, 10 years older than I was. So, like, if I ever had to ask him for help, there were stipulations. He's like, yeah, okay, but you're going to do this. Or, yeah, all right, I'll do that. But I'm going to make you, like, if it was just, he wanted me to learn how to do it and become self-sufficient, but he'd still help me out.
That's a lot of work too. Like, I'm imagining your brother, like, one day you're stuck on, like, the second boss in the game as, like, how old were you in this?
So
Like,
when I first tried to play, I was probably about 6 or 7.
Right.
And so I'm in, like, 2nd grade. My hand-eye coordination is terrible. And I'm sitting here fucking trying to, beat Cerberus and Hercules, and I just can't fucking do it. And I'm getting angry, and I throw the controller. And so, like, it spanned from probably when I was about 6 or 7 to when I was probably about 11 or 12 when I finally beat it, where I would off and on continue to try to play the game, and then I'd have to come back and be like, hey, big brother, I can't. I suck. And he'd be like, okay. And from wherever I couldn't, no matter how far into the game, he would play it, and he'd sit me down, and I'd watch it. And at some point, I'd probably fuck off, and he'd still beat the game for me, and then I'd have to take it back. Because we had the Blockbuster Game Pass, so I would just get games all the fucking time, and I wouldn't beat any of them because I sucked. But it's neither here nor there. I would take it back as soon as he beat it, and then the next time I would see it, I'd be like, all right, cool, I'm gonna do it this time, and I fucking wouldn't. And I finally bought the game and my PlayStation, and I was so excited, and then it was immediately just cast down because I was like, wait, there's a second one? Son of a bitch.
But then if you beat the second one and he tried to do that for the third, you're like, but it's okay anyways because it won't come out for another, like, decade.
Oh yeah, it's not gonna come out until probably, but it's fine. It's okay. I'm not bitter.
Yeah, I didn't mention the age in which I beat, like, the beat and 100%ed. Jack and Daxter I beat when I was 6, but like I said, I was an idiot kid with no hand-eye reflexes that bullheaded his way through the game. So the fact that I beat it, it was all chalked up to probably just luck. The whole time.
You should chalk it up to a little bit more than that.
Nah, I honestly don't think so.
Yeah, that was I bet you were, like, forging your video game skills at that age. Just like, I don't know, I feel like that gives you an advantage over us. The fact that you beat a game when you were so young. Maybe you were doing some shit that we weren't. You knew some things.
But I did 100% that game until I was actually like 17 or 18. I didn't collect, every orb, every power cell, everything. I didn't do all that until later. But I 100%ed Final Fantasy X when I was 16. That was the first game I 100%ed.
Huh. The other thing before we get too far away from it that I want to, like, mention is I'm just imagining her brother, like, on a daily basis coming in, like, he just beat the entire game yesterday, and now you're stuck on like, the 4th boss, and he's just like, all right, cracks his knuckles, sits down, and you leave the room, and he just beats the entire game again.
And that's what it was like for me, because there were times where, like, I would bring it down, and, like, I got to, like, the second boss, and I'm like, RJ, I fucking can't do this. So I just bring it down, and most of the time it was over just the course of a day or two that, like, I'd sit down for a while, and then at some point I would leave to, like, go to bed or do something, and then I'd come back either, like, later that night or the next day, and I'm like, where the fuck is this? Who is that? And he's like, don't worry about it. Just sit down and watch. I'm like, okay. And so, like, it was crazy because he would get to things that I had never seen, and then, like, he'd put it back in its case and be like, all right, so we're done. And I'm like, that's just it? He's like, and I just, over the course of just trying to beat it, I would see little snippets of just I don't know, and I'm like, what is that? Who is this? That's a giant thing with like giant teeth. Why? He's like, don't worry about it.
He
I'm
just
like,
sees a
okay.
pause screen and he's just like, what's this? Someone doesn't know how to proceed on this level? Surely I'll help them.
It was so painful because it was really when I was really little and I couldn't do it. It was fine because I was like, it's okay. I get to watch my big brother do it. But then like as I got older, it was more just are you fucking there? There's something I'm doing wrong. There's got to be something I'm doing wrong, and it would only be after I sit there and just bash my head into this brick wall, and I'm like, all right, I can't do it, and I'd walk downstairs and I'd just fucking look down at my feet and I'd be like, RJ, I need your help. And he would always be the same, like, oh yeah, what's up? What can I do for you? And I'm like, I need you to beat this boss.
One
Oh,
more time.
okay. And
Uh-oh. Robot Haley has become submerged. And she's on her last words. Now
I
she's
can
drowned.
hear her off in the distance. Something's happening. She's talking, but I don't hear her.
Uh-oh.
Oh, more robot.
Oop. It's her last breaths. Oh. That's the robot
fucking head.
flatline.
The robot flatline.
No, she's a drowned robot.
Def-
The dirt. Get back from the dead. The dirt, Def.
is it so?
Kinda.
Um,
Your headphones are working, but the problem is your Wi-Fi is not wanting any of it.
I heard resurrected Haley's first words. It
Oh.
was is and it.
Yeah, when you get roboted, it's the internet.
Listen,
Oh, the
man,
echo.
our internet's great.
This is great.
Yeah, Austin, we have fiber internet.
Isn't that supposed to be good?
Yeah, it is, but it's all dependent.
Damn,
It's
Austin.
all dependent on our phone's willingness to connect to the Wi-Fi from the fiber internet.
Oh, which that's probably why I'm having issues. I'm not connected.
Why would your
Yes,
phone
you
not
should
want to
do that.
connect to the Wi-Fi? I don't understand.
Sometimes it just doesn't fucking want to.
Good.
I don't know. I can't give you an explanation. Phones are stupid.
Sometimes your phone's just a bitch. Okay. Just doesn't
Oh.
wanna.
For sure.
Well, actually, my phone's a bitch. Mine's like the bitchiest of all. It's just perpetually arms crossed on the situation of anything Wi-Fi from now on. It's been that way for a month. It's,
Belligerently going to parties but not having a fun time at all.
yes. Actually, I feel like maybe this was in a dream, but I feel like I pressed,
Oh.
I like held down on my iPhone the other day. Okay, now I just have to know. Okay. Was that in a dream? Am I crazy? I held down, what? Yes, voice control. What the fuck is this? It's like I have Siri again, but I don't. Like I'm saying words and it's taking the, and then...
No, that's dumb.
Siri just shuts me down. Yeah, it's at the very least like making the, it's responding to the words I'm saying. It doesn't think I can hear. I'm gonna do a search. Well, of course not. There has no connection. Anyways, good golly. That just psyched me out. I needed to know. But yeah, so my phone's completely disconnected from the interwebs forever.
No, man, that sucks. I'm sorry.
Sorry about that detour.
No, it's cool.
Once I was unsure whether or not that was a dream or reality, I needed to know immediately whether that happened last night. Because it's different. It's not like, it's not telling me the usual message of like connect to Wi-Fi to like access Siri. It just pulls up this thing called voice control. So I guess they've rebranded. Not sure what's going on there.
I don't know, man.
Anyways, Anna, what was the first game that you beat?
The
Anna?
earliest recollection I can have of getting anywhere close to a boss was Dr. Wily
Really?
in one of the Mega Mans.
Sorry. My Spotify is just randomly deciding to start playing music while I'm talking to you guys.
Dr. Wily. He's
Dr.
hacking
Wily?
into your Spotify. Yeah.
Oh. Okay, sorry, Anna.
But the first game I have vivid memories of completing was Banjo-Kazooie. May have been Banjo-Tooie, actually.
Oh, really?
Because, yeah, that's the one where you kick Gruntilda's head a couple times. I think that was the one.
I'm pretty sure
I
that's that
remember
one.
what Mega Man that was.
It's crazy to me that like it's not a distinct memory for you. Like I vividly remember the first game that I beat and like that momentous occasion, you know? Like I don't think I had as much build up as Haley did, but like
In my mind, that means that whatever the game Anna beat first was, it made her so angry or it was so unmomentous that she was just like, "Fucking, I don't want to remember this."
It's probably Banjo-Tooie. Now that we've narrowed it down, then.
I don't know. It could be like 2-year-old Anna just like beat Super Mario Bros. 1 and was just like,
Two-year-old Anna beat Super Mario Bros. 1.
yes.
Oh,
And she just gets like pissed off and throws the controller down and storms off like, whatever, it's done.
it's over.
Fuck it!
Exactly. Do you know how old you were when you beat Banjo-Tooie?
Oh, I have no fucking idea, but it was... Let's see, hold on.
Count the days.
Well, I am going to look up when Banjo-Tooie came out.
And then narrow it down from there.
Yeah.
Gonna work backwards is what we're gonna do.
I like to imagine you have your calendar pulled open right now and you're just hitting rewind. How many years?
She's just yep. That's all she's doing. It's fine.
When I was 2. All right. Well, actually, I guess I have a follow-up question for you then, Haley. Did you 100%
Yes.
a game? What was the first
So
one that you beat 100% in?
I think the first game I ever 100%ed was the first Assassin's Creed.
Shit. Really?
Yep.
Huh.
I poured hours and hours and hours into that game. I love the first one.
Yeah, me too.
I affectionately love the series, but I also like just kind of I casually watch it now. However, the new Assassin's Creed they came out with, which oh fuck, I don't even remember which one it is. What's the one I bought? K. Ian, do you remember which one that is?
Odyssey.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Has that come out yet?
No, Origins.
There we go.
Oh, Origins.
Yep.
That looks amazing, and I really want to play that.
It does look very nice. It looks like a nice, refreshing direction.
Yeah, it like the game itself is just gorgeous. Like it just looks amazing. But like I don't know, something like I watched Kay play it a little bit and it feels just a little bit different without straying too far away from like kind of the core like algorithm for Assassin's Creed. And it's like the world is so much bigger, but it doesn't feel that agonizingly big, or it doesn't feel like because there are some games there that it's like this is a fuck ton, and this feels like really you're just gonna all of this is bullshit.
Absolutely. Like I so quickly lost interest in that series. Like I was so passionately in love with Assassin's Creed 1. I'm the same way. I find it like super impressive that you 100%ed that game because like including all the flags too, right? Like across.
Yes.
Oh my god!
Yes.
Like that's ridiculous. And you killed every Templar.
Yep.
Wow.
That was I I really like that was the only or not the only game. It was the first game that I was like, you know what? This I really want to commit to doing all this. I really do. And like I went through hours and hours and hours of doing it. And I was so happy when I finally did it because I'm like, hell yeah, I got this. And I think I'd bought the first Assassin's Creed and the second Assassin's Creed like right after each other.
Hmm.
And then I started playing the second one and I liked Ezio for the most part. I feel like we had too much of Ezio at some point though. Like there was a point where we all should have been like, you know what? Let's do someone else.
That's just what I
Let's
was gonna
change
say. Is like I was in love with Assassin's Creed One, and at that point, with the story where it was, I was like fantasizing about like Assassin's Creed ninjas at some point in time, or
Yeah.
like just all the different factions that could be in the different like corners of the
Yeah.
world throughout different
Yes.
periods of time. That just seemed fucking awesome to me from Assassin's Creed 1. And then when Assassin's Creed 2 was announced, I was like, holy shit, we're going to Italy, and I was all on board. And I loved Assassin's Creed 2. And then
Yeah.
immediately they came out with Brotherhood on the same engine that's like
And
still on the same continent, and it's like there's so
yeah.
many other places I want to see that it's
And
just
like
So it was great because in audio engineering in my course during the first year there was a guy that was sitting next to me, and I looked over and I was like, "Oh, nice tattoos, man." And he was like, "Oh, thanks." And then I was like, "Can I see some more of them?" He was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And he shows me his other wrist, and he's got the Assassin's Creed logo. And I'm like, you got the Assassin's Creed logo?" And he was like, "Yeah." I
yep,
got it after the second. I got it after the second game came out. Right after the
yeah,
second game came out,
and
that's
it
and he's like,
like
"I
wow,
kind of wish I didn't have this one anymore." I'm like, "Oh my god."
that
like
sucks.
I really I've because Brotherhood it wasn't great. Revelations I started to play it and I feel like it that was better, but I still felt like it was kind of droning. And then like I really liked Assassin's Creed 3 with Connor. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Um but it just kind of near the end it got a little
yeah,
the naval fighting though was crazy cool. Black Flag, like I don't I feel like the premise of Black Flag was really cool, but other than that, I don't feel like it the only thing that it tended to do not more right, but what it tended to do that made it better was just everybody was a huge fan of the naval fighting combat. Like that was what they were huge fans of. And that was exclusively like what you were doing in that game. That was how you traveled, that was fucking how you did shit. And so like I don't know, I didn't feel like any of the games even after Ezio were like really that compelling. And I was like, yeah, this is all
yeah.
right. Okay, cool. And then when Origins came out and I bought it for K, I started watching that, and I'm like, this feels different enough, but it still sticks to the same kind of concept that this is pretty cool. And it just looks amazing. And the story looks super cool. And the main character they have is super great. I love him. I think he's wonderful. Um, but yeah, I would definitely get the Assassin's tattoo and not feel any shame in it at all. Because I love the concept of it. And I think it's still just a wonderful idea. I just wish that they didn't have such shitty games sometimes, you know?
Yeah. Well, and part of what I was getting at is like, by the time that the games came out that did take place in the locations I was fantasizing about when the first game came out,
Yeah.
like China, it was
Yeah.
called Assassin's Creed Chronicles China, and it's just like I was so disinterested by that point in the game. I'm like
Yeah.
starting to get an interest back when I see stuff like Origins. That was fucking cool too. I absolutely agree. It's like bringing in redeeming factors about the franchise back, but it's just a game that like dropped off my radar so hard. It was like
Yeah.
I was totally on board for everything you were saying. Like retrospect, I actually like the Enzio trilogy quite a lot.
Yeah.
Compared to these other games that I have very little interest in, like Unity and Syndicate. Um,
Yeah.
but like I actually have every 360 Assassin's Creed game, all 8 of them, but like I still haven't played 2 of them. I haven't played Rogue or Liberation, and it's like I kind of want to play those, but yeah, there's too
I
many of them.
that was the other thing that was hard for me because when I moved up here is when I got the Xbox 360 because that was most of the like family I have were all fucking nerds. So she assumed that if she got me an Xbox, I could connect to the internet and still talk to everybody. That was literally the only reason she bought me an Xbox. And it was really funny because some of the first games I got were all the Assassin's Creeds, and at one point I had like every game that had come out up until that point, which I think at the time I had just gone up to Revelations, and I think Assassin's Creed 3 was coming out. And then our shit got stolen, so I didn't get any of those back.
Fuck.
And it was I heard really good things about 3, but I was like, you know what? I'm not feeling it. Like I'm not super into it right now. And then just all the games after that, it was kind of the same thing. And I kept watching it and I kept an eye on it, but I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm just not. I'm gonna continue to send you good vibes, but I'm just like you. I feel like you dropped the ball, and I feel like there's just there's nothing here for me now.
Yeah, exactly. There are other more innovative things I'd rather play.
Yeah, like I hope you're doing great, but I just, there's nothing here anymore. I feel like we're just drawing it out.
And the story
Like a
felt
bet.
drawn out too. Like felt like there were some really
Yeah.
cool deep things there. And rather than like answering some questions, they took the approach of just adding a lot more questions and then answering some. And
And I feel like games do that where they're just like, well, we'll just, add on to the mystery. You're not adding on to the mystery. You're making the shit convoluted.
yeah,
Like, don't,
you're
like,
making me
those aren't the
disinterested.
same. Yeah.
Hmm.
Make it overly complicated where it goes over your like gamer's head. That doesn't increase their interest in it. It just like they just go through it and they just get frustrated because they have questions that you still haven't answered and you're just throwing new shit at them, and it either contradicts or it just makes the whole story behind it all that much more convoluted or retcons what you've already done. So it's like, dude, just go through it. A natural progression.
Yeah.
Give me some answers and then come up with more questions. Like that's just don't just make this whole thing just a big ball of I don't fucking know.
I feel like there's good ways to do it though. Like in the Metal Gear franchise, I feel like that's part of the appeal is how just ridiculously complicated the plot line gets and how quickly. And they do things that would only make sense in a video game setting, and like the fact that they're willing to go there is like that convoluted story is just kind of part of the fun. So
Yeah, and I think that is very true. I feel like there are some games that part of part of the enjoyability of the game is knowing how ridiculous like it can get with its story. And I feel like that's something I've not recently, but I've come to terms with Kingdom Hearts. The story is convoluted and kind of stupid. It's totally fine.
right,
But like that's kind of what makes the gameplay fun because you're a Final Fantasy dude with bright yellow shoes tromping around with fucking steampunk Goofy and Donald over here. And like it's just a stupid fun time and the story is there and it's kind of like if I were to explain it to you without any context, you definitely look at me funny. And that's fine. But I definitely feel like in some games that's just part of the experience of it. I don't feel like the way Assassin's Creed at least has done it. It was not good, and
yeah,
it wasn't
exactly.
conducive.
It just felt like okay, we need to make more games. We need to be producing these like once a year.
Yeah,
We can't answer these questions in a trilogy or even in a 6 game series. This just needs to go on for as long as it possibly can.
yeah,
So let's
we need
keep
to keep
We
it
need
going.
convoluting the
that
story.
money. All the money.
Exactly.
So much
All of it.
money.
So yeah, it's disappointing. Um, it's interesting that
Hey
the first
Austin, what
game that
games have you beat?
I was just gonna go there. Interesting that the first game that Haley 100%ed was Assassin's Creed, because the first that I did was Assassin's Creed 2, um, and I really haven't 100%ed many games. I think it might just be 2. I know I beat Assassin's Creed 2 and Modern Warfare 2, both 100%. But yeah, loved that game. Like, would stay up ridiculously late so that I could like sneak into where I knew my mom was hiding the 360 from me, so I could take the 360 up into the living room, plug it into the TV at 3 a.m. And just like play Assassin's Creed 2 for an hour, just to like
Yep.
get a little bit of a taste of it. When she took
Just
the
love
Xbox
it.
away from me because I was playing too much Assassin's Creed 2. Like, I loved that game. But here we are. I stopped collecting the games after the 8th one.
Yeah, no, and you know what? I don't think anyone would fault you for it.
Yeah. And then the first game that I beat was Super Mario Sunshine. And I remember that day very
Really?
well because it was also the first day that I wore boxers. Like, those two things.
You became a man.
Exactly right. Exactly right. That was my like rite of passage into manhood. I fucking beat a video game. I beat Super Mario Sunshine, and I wore boxers like men do.
As men do.
And yeah, it's great. In retrospect, I realized to beat that game, you only have to get like half of the stars. So it feels like they're really
Yeah.
setting you up to like have just a blast of a childhood experience with like a big trophy cherry on top, because the game is not very hard. I think I went back and beat it
Yeah.
really, really easily as like a 16-year-old. But 10-year-old Austin was
Yeah.
stoked on that.
Oh yeah. Totally. See, that was a game I guess technically I beat, but I don't like to say that because I beat it with my brother. Like that was the caveat I had there. Like that was a game I exclusively played with him, and like it was super cool. And like that was something like I would try to do it, and then if I couldn't do it, which was like 95% of the time, he would do it for me. And
And
then
then
when we
beat the
finally
entire
like
game.
beat it, quote unquote, like I was just like, yeah. He's like, yeah, we did it. I'm like, we did it, and I was super excited. But like, I didn't do it. I just held the controller a couple times,
Yeah.
pressed some buttons, and
Get
like.
robbed of
But
that.
you know what? That's fine. That was okay. I ended up going back. That was one game I tried 100% and then just got fucking frustrated and then like was like, I'll come back. Fuck this.
It's a great game to this day. Like one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, it's a good game. I'm definitely a huge fan.
All right. Have I stalled enough for you to think of your 100%ed game, Anna? Apparently not.
I think it was still Banjo Tooie.
Really?
Yeah.
The
All in the
first
same
game
breath.
you beat and the first game you 100%ed was the same one. That's great.
Did you beat and
Yeah,
100%
that's pretty
at the
hardcore.
same time?
Yes, I
What?
100%ed it my first run.
No way. Okay. Is it just
Wow.
like a really easy game 200%? Or did you seriously
No, not
sit
at all.
down to...
Not at all.
What the fuck?
It was just really fun. And I just wanted to play it, so I continued playing it, and then I beat it, and then I was just like, well, guess I'm on to the next one.
Oh, I just
I was
remember
7.
what the question was I asked you a while ago that was unanswered. It wasn't which game you 100%ed, it was how old were you? And now I'm wondering the
I
same
was
thing.
7.
Oh, okay. You just fucking said that. That's hilarious. Okay. That's crazy. That's
Yeah, that's
really
super cool.
seriously crazy. You're a 7-year-old and you're like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna finally play a video game and beat a video game, 100% a video game, all in the same breath. Why not?
And I'm
Well,
sure she did it with that thinking. She's like, I'm gonna fucking be the best.
There ever was.
I think like no one ever was what you wanted to say.
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
My real test.
Just got Pokemon
All right,
schooled.
should we move on to gaming news?
Yeah, we should. It's been a minute. Do you have something to
All
say
right, who
again
wants-
to kick it off? Sounds like
I
you got
fucking
something.
just more shenanigans with PlayStation not wanting to do cross-platform.
Oh
And
my
the
god.
the
Okay.
but the development on it is basically now that hatred for it has kind of died down, um, what this whole thing really was a ploy to this whole thing was a ploy to see how harmful it was to their market shares for them to say that they're not going to do it. And guess what? It was not at all harmful for their market shares. So unless something happens that's going to harm their market shares for the Sony's market shares at all, they're not going to do cross-platform play.
Hmm.
So until their market shares are on the line, they're not going to do it. Which I mean, again, I don't blame them. As Anna brought up to me, I think it was yesterday, Xbox Live is saying you are going to use the Xbox Live system and you're going to pay to rent our servers, which is bullshit.
Yeah, it's shitting on everyone's
Yeah,
parts.
exactly.
Everybody involved is just a jackass.
I mean,
This whole
personally,
thing is just a this whole thing is just a fucking mess.
yeah.
You're talking about the Minecraft platform, right?
Yeah.
Cross-platform, yeah.
All right. Personally, kind of selfishly, I'm okay with that because as someone who owns both consoles, like I would much rather see there be a divide and like a reason for Sony to keep pushing out these games that are like really dope, like Spider-Man. Um, I'd rather see that than like have them give in and just kind of follow Microsoft's shitty rules on this. I feel like the more competition that we have would be like I'm outweighing that over the benefits of like being able to have cross-platform play. Just because
Well,
personally, selfishly, I have both.
I honestly think that if there was cross-platform play, there wouldn't it the fact that there would be exclusives to each console wouldn't be mutually exclusive. I think if you have cross-platform play, Sony would still have exclusive games that you could only play on PlayStation, and then Xbox would only have exclusive games that you could only play on Xbox. But the
Bloodborne.
cross-platform play comes the like Bloodborne would never come to Xbox, and Sekiro won't come to Xbox. Oh, well, at least I
Blood
don't think.
Okay.
Bloodborne has yet to even come to PCs.
Yeah, Bloodborne's not even going to come to PCs. So, like Bloodborne, like as just an example, will always be a PlayStation exclusive. And just because you have cross-platform play doesn't mean that console exclusivity is going to go out the window.
Yeah, those don't need to be associated. I don't know why I'm associating them. Okay, cool. Yeah. I mean, are there any downsides then? Like, I don't understand.
Downsides to not
Yeah,
like
to not having this cross-platform play. Like, I don't understand why Microsoft has to be pushy about doing it their way. Like,
it's because they're Microsoft and they
It's
think they own the world. That's why.
yeah, it's Microsoft. They need to earn that paper so they can make another yacht payment.
Hmm.
I mean,
Oh.
maybe, but like, I can't. Like, seriously, I'm trying to think of like the actual reason, and I can't. I don't think
There's like
that making all the money and for no fucking reason is the reason why this hasn't happened yet. Like, there's got to
I
it's
don't
be.
know.
all about
It's on both parties. It's Microsoft being like, hey, like you're gonna do it our way because we want the money to come from this. We want all of the money to come from this. You're not gonna get any of the money to come from this, and it's also in part fucking Sony being prideful and being like, no, we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna budge on this whatsoever. Like it's greed from Microsoft and pride from Sony working against each other at the same time.
Yeah, but I also like. I mean, I feel like it's silly for PlayStation or Sony for them to be like, okay, yeah, because I mean, like that's money they're losing for cross-platforming, and I feel like they both just need to pull their heads out of their ass and agree on a system that works between the both of them that isn't necessarily just owned by the other.
Yeah,
But I
like
don't feel like nobody wants to do that.
yeah, so I mean that's the solution to the problem, isn't it? Is like basically the reason one of the biggest reasons Sony is saying no is being prideful. Another one is all of the revenue they're making off of PS Plus to maintain their own servers will now be gone because of cross-platform play. So basically, it's going to be Microsoft has to. This is how it's going to end up. Either Sony says yes to Microsoft's like deal, and then because Sony said yes to Microsoft's deal, PlayStation users are going to have to pay for PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live at the same time, while Xbox users and PC users only have to pay for Xbox Live, or like their fucking connection system, which is basically Microsoft punishing like the competition for not being Microsoft,
Yeah,
or
which is just trash.
or Sony just uses Microsoft servers altogether, which is going to be a huge fucking tech problem because now every single PlayStation out there has to be reformatted to use Xbox Live system, which is going to be an insane fucking firmware software update for every single PlayStation that has to go out there, which can't necessarily happen. It's not feasible. Or you can have the solution to the problem, which is Microsoft and Sony pull both of their heads out of their asses and work together on a system that's a merging of the two systems, of the two online systems that allows them to play online with each other with things that they both like and they both make money from it and they both own parts of the servers.
Well, that's what's frustrating about it to me, I guess, is just like the solution is so obvious that I don't understand why it's not happening. Like, if Microsoft's being a douche and Sony's being stuck up and not wanting to budge, then, like, where's... I lost train of thought. Damn it.
Yeah, where do we go from here, basically?
Like,
and
why are they
know
not
the
willing to just, like, solve the issue and make their own thing?
We know the
and
answer,
now,
so why isn't anybody doing the answer?
Well, and now here's also another problem from a legal standpoint. These companies are based out of countries that illegalize monopolies. You're not allowed to have the monopoly on one thing. So if Microsoft and Sony, with Nintendo, because Nintendo's also involved in this to a lesser degree, if they all come together and make one system for all of them to use, and all of the money goes into that system, that's a monopoly. Like all those countries, like all these game systems using one online system, that is technically a monopoly, which is illegal in both Japan and in America. They can't have that.
Like, if that was the reason, I feel like that would be more explicitly stated. Like, we would love to do this, but it's fucking illegal. But that's not the tone of the conversation.
It really isn't, but I feel like that is a problem. That is a problem with it, which means that there would have to be another, and like the solution to that problem, like what I would like to happen is for Sony and Xbox to come together and make their own thing. But what actually might have to end up happening is they both have to rent out a third-party online system developed by another company altogether, so they both can rent it. So then another basically, when you get into the pay for online play option, when you get into your console, you have a choice of 3 different service providers that you could go into to play online, and they all have their own, pros and cons to them.
Yeah, I guess that would solve it, because, I mean, it would kind of make sense to me now why Sony would not be willing to develop that, like, technology and put all the time into making these servers if they're worried that Microsoft is going to once again say, no, our way or no way. Then they've put all this money into something that's just not going to be used. But if it's a third party that's saying, like, we've already have the servers, if you're just willing to...
We have the technology.
Yeah.
We have the technology.
Like, will you pay us money if they do? And they both say yes if the other person does, then that would solve it. Right?
But that's a lot of work.
It's a weird situation.
When we could be putting more money into the next Gears of War game, or the next fucking whatever exclusive PlayStation has on their
Gears of War Funko Pop.
Gears of War Funko Pop Mobile.
Okay, so that actually leads into another conversation that I had with Miles regarding like the free games this month, because
Mm-hmm.
it's another disappointing month for Xbox users. Whereas on PlayStation, we get God of War 3 and Destiny 2, plus like four other games that are about on caliber with like the four games that are being offered on Xbox Live this month. So it's just like they're once again Sony's just kind of like stomping them out of the water in terms of exclusives and PlayStation Plus games. And for a while now, Miles and I have both been just kind of like pissed and scratching our heads as to why in the fuck Xbox would be doing this when they're like so clearly losing both those battles. But I'm starting to think that like they're just putting all of their money and focus into Scarlet in 2 years and moving to like subscription based everything
No.
with
my
the release
fool.
of Xbox All Access, where you can pay like 30 some bucks a month to have an Xbox One and games for the Xbox One through Game Pass and Xbox Live and
Yeah,
pay for the
it
cost of
really
all
does.
that over 2
It
years.
really does feel like, yeah, you're right. It really does feel like like Xbox is just cutting their losses and saying, we lost this one, let's move on, let's focus on the next one.
Right.
You're right. That does actually kind of feel what it's like.
Right. And what I'm saying is that like my support for that conclusion being one, the Xbox All Access, how that lines up timeline wise to when the Scarlet's coming out. Like I bet it'll work on a similar like monthly subscription basis as Xbox All Access does, as Game Pass does. Um, and the fact that that's coming out in 2 years, the Scarlet is supposed to. That would put that right at the end of the timeline for if you got this 2 year like agreement installment plan for your Xbox. Then right at the time when you've paid off your Xbox One, now we have the Scarlet for you, and they could offer like some trade-in system, kind of a deal. So that being like my first piece of evidence, and then also I heard um, they're still looking to acquire like a couple more studios for Game Pass. Like it seems like they've locked down the market on like the games coming out every year, but every like 2 or 3 years, and studios releasing quality games in that area. It looks like they're still looking to acquire a couple more studios. So it just really seems like all their focus is on their new services going forward. So
Anyway, that was my news. Got off on a pretty good tangent there.
yeah, thanks for letting me take over.
That's fine. No, that was a good tangent. I'm glad we discussed this.
Cool. All right, I guess I'll go next. My news should be pretty quick. I stumbled across this article this last week or so. It's actually a pretty old article. It's from June 27th. But apparently, Marty O'Donnell, the composer for all the Halo music, had a post on Twitter saying, "Coffee time in rainy Seattle. You never know who you'll run into." And it's him with Joe Staten, I think it's pronounced, who's like one of the big writers for the Halo games, and Jen Taylor, the voice of Cortana.
Oh, Cortina.
Yeah. So basically, like they met up, and then in a follow-up tweet, he said there was nothing random about their meeting. So hopefully that means that Xbox is looking to bring back him for future Halo games and for music. I mean, I'm going out on a limb here, but like, really hope that's why these people are meeting up. So
Yeah, for sure.
we'll see.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
I'm hopeful for you, man.
would love to see it. I mean, that was like one of the biggest, my favorite things about Halo, and like the music alone makes such a fucking big impact on your experience.
So this is kind of our world colliding, Austin. But have you seen the video of what the composer's name? I forgot his name. The composer's
Yes.
name. What's his name?
Oh, Marty O'Donnell.
Yeah, Marty O'Donnell. Right.
I thought you were bringing up
Marty
somebody
O'Donnell.
else. Okay.
No, Marty O'Donnell in the studio with virtuoso guitarist Steve Vai, recording the theme for Halo 2.
Huh. Okay, I'm gonna look this up.
Yeah, it's a really cool short little video. It was just like Steve Vai was asked to do guitar for the Halo 2 theme, and the video is just like a quick little snippet of him, um,
How do you spell
like
Vi?
just VAI. Just a quick little snippet of him, like jamming out to the chord progression, and you can kind of hear where his what you can kind of hear what was written and where it was coming from.
Is it recent or?
I saw it like a week ago, but no, it's a video from like 2004, and I don't remember where I saw it. But
Okay.
I remember being like, huh, Austin would really fucking like this.
Huh. Awesome. Thanks, man. Like literally, as you were saying, there's a little video with it's like a little snippet. I was reading a description of a video titled "Steve Vai Halo 2 Test," published by Martin O'Donnell, and the description of that video is, "Okay, here's a snippet."
Mhm.
So, yeah, I was wondering if that was maybe the exact one that you were talking about. But
I think it might be.
cool.
Who's next?
I mean, I just kind of have a bunch of stuff that I was going to talk about. So, I mean, I don't have to go. I can wait
Anna?
until Anna goes.
I don't have anything.
But you were supposed to come with something.
Oh,
But why? Wow.
Good.
Oh, I did have something, but it was already talked about.
Oh, that was the servers. Not the
It was
servers.
one of
but
them.
It was the
Gotcha.
Martin O'Donnell thing.
The only other thing I could possibly bring up is that the Overwatch World Cup Day 3 is happening in like fucking 6 minutes, and I'm super excited for it.
Oh
Oh
shit!
shit! Yeah, that's news. That's for sure news.
Huh.
oh,
Did you also hear
That's
about
news.
Oh,
them
I didn't
adding?
think it was interesting
No,
to
it's
talk
yeah.
about. Because it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, Overwatch, that game that's been out for several years. Fuck that game.
No, but it's
I
cool
love that
because
game. Shut up.
they added 8 new teams to the Overwatch League.
Yeah.
Like Paris and DC have one now, and like 3 more cities in China have one.
Did you watch Sweden whoop Russia's ass?
No, I didn't.
Oh, good.
That was fucking awesome.
Yeah, no, like I still don't like.
It was
I mean,
it was a real nail biter for a little bit.
I'm not. I don't play Overwatch much anymore, but man, oh man, watching professionals play that game and having teams that you root for is the fucking best.
Sorry, I'm eating a cracker.
She's eating a white people.
One less white
I don't
person
know
in the world.
No, a white people.
One less.
Oh, white people.
Uh-huh.
Well, I think that.
Well, shit. All right.
Yeah, what's your news, Haley?
Well, so there was a couple of things I was going to talk about. One of them isn't even news. It was just an interesting article that I thought was a cool concept. But first of all, I want to gush about Cyberpunk 2077 for a second
Aw,
because
shit.
I'm so excited for that game. I
For
am
real.
so excited. I think it's going to be great. I love the world building that they're trying to do. I love the cause and effect system they're trying to do for the character when it's interacting with groups and missions and like, oh, I'm just so excited. I think it's gonna be great. I've just been like anxiously watching for any piece of news that comes out because I'm like, I just want this. I just want it so bad. I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah,
I'm
man, it
looking
looks pretty
forward to
sick.
like every aspect of the game except for the story. Not to be a downer, but just some of the writing in that. It was a just like on border with being cringeworthy, where it's just okay. You're definitely a cyberpunk world full of
Yeah,
pissed off cussing people, like,
definitely.
and just a little bit cliche, but
Oh, and I'm sure it's going to be, but I think it will end up at least just being okay. I think I don't think it'll be I don't
absolutely.
think it'll be trash, but
Yeah, it just doesn't look like a very compelling writing, but I feel like every other aspect of that game has me thoroughly anticipating it, and I imagine I'll be pre-ordering it when it comes out, whenever that is.
whenever that is.
Yeah, whenever that is, just looks fucking great. So
Yeah, I'm super excited for it. And then something I actually read with Ian, which he and I were kind of sad about. So the last like PS2 aftercare clinic is fucking gone, and
Oh, yeah.
it's not it's not going to be a thing anymore.
I didn't even know those were a thing. Is that like
Yeah,
a
Yeah,
repair shop?
yeah.
yeah,
PS2 repair shop. The last official PS2 repair shop by Sony is gone.
yep.
Damn.
So
Sony
not
closed
only
fucking all of those now.
so not only are all the PlayStation 2 servers gone, but now all the aftercare shops are gone, and they stopped making them, which means the PlayStation 2 is officially dead.
Huh.
Yeah,
That
something
sucks.
a little melancholy for you. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, that one. It made me sad because like that was probably one of the first consoles that like I actively played, and I was like, oh fuck, really?
That was the first console I owned. My original PlayStation 2 that I owned is right now. I'm looking at it. It's
Me
on
too.
my shelf.
Mine is fucking mine. The first one I bought was the PlayStation 2 Slim, so it was one of the real tiny ones. You know,
Me too.
the ones that had the malfunction where it fucking just stopped working after a little while. Hi, sweet Go. What are you doing?
Mine
Uh,
erupted into a ball of flames.
That happened. That definitely happened.
Wow.
How does that just happen?
Well, Hellfire.
Yeah, that'll do it, I guess.
Yeah, and
I
how
was
did
playing
go
it,
ahead
and then
go
it
ahead and
just caught on fire.
go ahead and explain how that just happened to some PS2s.
Yeah, it just fucking happens
The
sometimes.
thing I was the thing I was well aware of when I was a kid because I heard stories, and it made me even more terrified because my PS2 didn't have a fan.
What?
That was the biggest thing, is the fan would just stop working, and it would just burst into a ball of flames.
Damn.
The reason my
Yeah,
PS2
fuck.
didn't have a fan is because when someone stole my PS2, and they fucking and my sister tracked the person down who stole it because we were in a small town, um, and she got it back. He disassembled it and took out the fan, and reassembled it, and then sold the fan.
Why?
Fucking, I don't know. Why did some jackass steal the CDs that I burned and only the CDs that I burned out of my car?
That's a
I don't know.
ridiculous like level of commitment where he's like
Right?
that committed to like fixing. I mean, are you sure that he sold the fan, or maybe he was like fixing his own PS2? But that wouldn't
I
make
don't
sense.
fucking
That he
know.
would just use your
I,
PS2.
I don't
Yeah.
fucking know why he didn't like. I don't know what he did with the fan. All I
Yeah.
know is it was gone. It was gone for a week. I told my sister about it. She gets super pissed. She comes back with it saying, some asshole stole it from stole it from our house. They found out about it. They found out he sold it to the youth center. The youth center was like, "Well, this PlayStation 2 was sold to us, so we're gonna keep it." And she was like, "That PS2 is stolen. It has my brother's name on it." And they look, my name was on the bottom, and they were like, "Oh shit!" And she's like, "Yeah, does this Christian Youth Society really want to use a stolen PlayStation?" And they were like, "No." So she's like, "Right, give that to me."
I don't think Jesus would be okay with that, guys.
And then they found the guy because he also stole a couple other things from our house. And my sister and a couple people took him out into the middle of the woods over by Chihuahua and just fucking left him there.
Oh,
And he came back like a week later, and then no one ever saw him after that.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um. Well, that's a nice segue. So did everybody hear about the um Jacksonville shooting that happened at the oh fucking
The
what was it?
the Madden tournament.
Yeah, the EA Madden tournament they
Yeah.
had. So an article I read um shortly after the shooting was apparently one of their survivors from the shooting is suing EA because of the shooting. And it was something I read and I'm like, I see where you're going and I get why. I just don't think that's the thing you should do because so the article goes one of the survivors who was injured, he's suing and I'm trying to see if I can find exactly cuz they were they were filing a lawsuit against EA, the Chicago pizza venue that it was held at, the Jacksonville Mall where the venue was, and apparently 5 other defendants they threw into this lawsuit because in their minds none of these parties like provided a safe and secure environment, and it
So what I think about that is, yes, they should probably sue the venue and the mall and all that, but not EA because EA doesn't really have anything to do with it.
well and that was what
Yeah.
like part of the article tried to say was EA couldn't
Congratulations, EA. This lawsuit isn't your fault.
like the article goes to say EA couldn't have possibly prepared for the shooting, like there wasn't anything like I mean they could take steps to make sure it was more secure, but I mean there's there's nothing they could have done to prepare for somebody being like, hey, I lost, fuck all of you. Like I mean you can only prepare for that so much and hope that fucking whoever is up there is a reasonable human being. And to which the guy's like lawyer goes and is just like, well, they could have like there was some other like crimes that were going on, they should have known better. And
It's
and
not EA's responsibility. It's the venue's responsibility. EA doesn't contract the security officers. The venue does. That's how every tournament works. That's how every event works at any major venue is the security is provided by the venue, not the person that's like the security is provided by the venue and not the person the venue's for.
Right. Just kind
Like
of
that's
sounds like they're trying to make money out of the situation.
like
And
I get it, it's a
like
super
like
shitty
I
situation.
super
And
like again I super agree they should be suing the pizza place and the mall and all the venues and all the associated venues that went with it because it was their fault. It was not EA's fault for once.
for once. But and
yeah.
that's the thing, like EA has already like they've made a huge like donation like fund for all of the victims, like not only just the funeral costs for the people who actually fucking died, because I think there were 3 or 4 people who actually died, and that includes the shooter. So like it's a fund for them, it's a fund for everybody who was involved and was like injured or affected. So it's not like EA is like, oh man, that sucks, sorry guys. But like I just read the article and I'm like, this is kind of fucked. I'm like, I get, because I mean, not to say that these people who were affected shouldn't get some kind of like how I don't want to say like reparation because that's not the word, but like there definitely needs to be something done because these people were fucked over because they were supposed to be given a secure place and not enough steps were taken to make sure that it was. So I
Which is
get
why I
that.
think it's a, yeah, it's which is why I think it's a good thing to sue the venue and all of that is because not only were they responsible and they didn't do their job, but it'll also set a legal precedent in the future for things like this where like there were regulations to say like, hey, during these events you should probably have this security and this, but there was nothing set in stone, nothing in law. Once
How the
this
fuck did
lawsuit
that?
goes once this lawsuit goes through, now there will be a legal precedence for
Yeah.
what you need to have and all the things you need to do and what is going to happen every single time. so that things will be safer, because that's how law works.
Yeah.
How the
And
fuck did he get into the venue, like, with a gun in the first place?
he was one of the what's fuck, why am I having such a hard time? He was one of the people doing the thing. Fuck, what's that
He was
word?
one of the competitors in the
There
tournament,
you
and he
go.
lost, and he came back with a gun and shot people.
Yeah. That's what happened. And so like I mean,
I think we're not having the actual conversation we should be having. Just not us, but like the entirety of the U.S. This wouldn't have happened if he didn't have a gun. But
I
you
mean,
know, whatever.
background
Yeah.
checks, like, you
Yeah,
know,
I don't like the
Well-
whole thing. The whole issue is that yeah, people like if people are good people, they should have a gun, and like I don't know, we don't really know if he was mentally unstable or not or like what. So I don't know, and I don't know where he got the gun. I don't know, like there's no information
I
on he got the gun from an illegal source, and it doesn't matter what the law was. He just did it anyway, or
I
this is a
feel
gun he owned
comfortable.
for hunting purposes, or like I don't know. There's not enough information on this one specific topic.
I feel comfortable saying that if any person who loses a video game competition and believes that they should kill people because of it probably is mentally ill. Like, just
Probably.
I feel comfortable in saying that.
I think
Like,
we
just
can confirm that.
yeah, I feel comfortable in my assumption to be like, if that's a thought process you have and act upon, I think there might be something wrong,
And that's
and
the
you might
worst
need
thing.
you might
Is
need some
this,
help.
this asshole, this fuckface, now officially made the gaming community like the thing that everyone's been saying for years is video
Yeah.
games cause violence.
And
Well,
that
now he fucking did it, and he
yeah.
ruined it for fucking everyone.
Yeah, and that's
And
the
now we're
word,
set,
and that's what
and now
yeah,
we're set
that's
back
what
even
scares me.
further, and are
Yeah.
like trying to realize like, no, this wasn't because of video games. He was just a shitty person. If he played football and would have lost, he probably would have done the same damn thing. And like, but people are going to blame video games because that's what they do,
Yeah.
and it just set us back even further.
Yeah, and it's gonna be the wrong conversation, because that's what it's gonna be. It's not gonna be about like what we need to do in those situations to avoid the conflict, or
Not,
how to make
not
it
the fact that he had a gun in the first
Yeah.
place.
not having it so it's more difficult to enter high populous venues with firearms, or making areas like that more secure. It's gonna be like, well, fuck, I guess video games do cause violence. No, that's not what's going on. Like, that wasn't the problem. The problem was this dude who probably has some mental issues decided that he lost a fake football game and was like, fuck everybody involved. All of them need to die. That's the topic that should be talked about. But no, it's gonna be about how, oh, everyone was right. Video games make people more aggressive. No, that's not necessarily true. In this case, yes, and that's gonna be the hardest thing for people to stand on. It's gonna be like, well, yeah, you're right, but like, it wasn't necessarily the video game that caused this, and it's just gonna be a shitty slope that we have to come back from. And so it's the whole thing is just, it makes me uncomfortable and it makes me sad, because it's like, fuck, this is another headway we have to make. Great. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Way to go, fucker. Way to go.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's just I don't know what to say. There's so many like thoughts that go through my mind. Like, first and foremost, like, what a horrible thing. And it's just
Yeah.
like literally brought me a bit of fear going to PAX last weekend. Like, is there gonna be somebody like I was thinking about gun control as I was walking into the venue, and it's like that's just something you never used to think about 10 years ago.
yeah.
But like here I am, like surrounded by people, just thinking if one person in one of these backpacks had one really crazy idea, then like how many people is he gonna shoot before
Yeah.
he gets stopped? And it's just
Yeah.
it's so ridiculous that it's becoming a regular occurrence.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you guys. I mean, of course, it's not. It's the person. It's not games, but it makes you wonder, like, if this is a direction that like we're going because of our society, and anything that we have, something that we have, in our society that's set up maybe wrong, that creates more of these instances, or is it because of just how many people we have in the world, at how fast of a rate we're growing, and how public everything is now that we're seeing more of this stuff occur. Um, but I don't know. It's making me pay
Yeah,
attention in a way that I never used to.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point to make because like that's the thing that I see a lot of older generations making. They're just like, like this shit was happening and nobody said anything. It's like, well, yeah, it's also because a lot of us didn't know about this. Like, and that's kind of shitty to think about, but like we live in a day and age where like information is readily available whenever the fuck I decide to turn my phone on.
We have
Like
the
that's just
Library of
yeah,
Alexandria in our pocket.
yeah, and
Right.
like that's the crazy thing. I can see so much more and I have access to so much more information and news travels so fucking quickly now and like it's crazy how much we have available. So it's
just
not
just
to
just a
say
fucking example. When Mac Miller died, I found out literally within 2 minutes of that article, of the first article being posted, that he died.
Right.
I wasn't even looking for the news, and I just fucking found it out of nowhere. That's how quickly news travels.
yeah.
Exactly.
And so like I don't think it's an issue of as we're progressing as a people it's necessarily becoming more like prevalent and I feel like that might play into it as well just because of laws and health issues and I don't want to get too into it but I think it's just a matter of like we all are aware of it so much more because we all see so much more
Right.
like we have access to so much more information and it is available to us so much more often so it's not that this wasn't a problem it's just that not as many people knew about the problem or not as many people saw that there was a problem. So I don't think to say that like, oh, this didn't used to happen, or when this used to happen, nobody minded. Well, it's because nobody pretty much fucking knew about it. It was you and like the small town, or you and the select group of people. That's who knew about it. Now, fucking something happens in Jacksonville where a bunch of fucking nerds decide to play Madden. Like that shit blows up, and everybody knows about it, and everybody has the ability to know about it. So it just is available and everybody sees it more and fear tactics and shit. So everybody hears about the scary shit.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to get too political, but like, yeah, it definitely makes me wonder like, if we need to be implementing more of a solution for these things, or maybe go in with less strict
The
policies and just
solution.
realize that like it's more popularized.
The solution.
Yeah, there needs to be a solution. I don't want to
I
say
think what
I don't want to say it's one thing or another, but there needs to be a solution.
there's definitely like one big major factor. I could just walk into a store and buy a bullpup stock for my AR-15 and just convert it into a fully automatic. That's a huge problem that no one seems to address.
But that's
Huh.
that's not the point, man. Oh yeah, like it's the accessibility to some things is I'm sure plays a part but I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's so many different contributing
It's
factors.
I honestly do believe it's a mental health issue, but it also doesn't
Yeah.
help. It also does
Australia
not
had a
help.
mass shooting, so we banned them. And guess what? Doesn't happen anymore.
Well, and another problem. Another problem with that is that it is honestly a mental health issue, because another reason why it doesn't happen much anymore is because Australia has a really great healthcare system with really great ways to handle mental health, and the reason it's not working in America is because we treat mental health like it's the fucking like one, it doesn't exist. We treat mental health like it's not an actual thing. Two, we demonize it, and so people that have depression are now lazy. People with anxiety are antisocial. People with bipolar are evil and bad. like, and no screenings are going through for anything. The fucking Argentina is a country where 70% of the population goes to regular weekly therapy, and they all have much better grasp on mental health and mental health as an actual illness rather than just, something that you're bummed out about or something that makes you
Yeah.
uncomfortable. It's an actual illness that affects you physically and mentally at the same time. And so I don't know. I think uh, a lot needs to change. A lot needs to change in America about everything that has to do with mental health before a lot of other things change as well.
Yeah, I think to say it's just one issue or one problem or just one particular issue, I think
It's one
is
facet of this
yeah,
huge issue
it's
that
one
is
facet of a much bigger problem. I feel like
where
there's so many.
everyone has aspects where yes, you are correct, and they have other aspects where like no, you're not right. It's
I'm
just
gonna quote the Joker here. It only takes one bad day.
yeah,
Yeah, just
it
one
only
bad
takes one
day.
bad day.
And the ready access to firearms is not helping.
Yeah, it's definitely not helping. You do have
Yeah.
that correct.
Yeah, just so the other part of news I wanted to talk about was just
Yeah,
one that I
let's get
recently
back into
found.
games.
Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition is now available on consoles. And I thought that was cool because it's Final Fantasy, but with a bunch of chibis, and I thought that was cute as shit.
Huh.
So
It
yeah,
is
I
cute.
just thought it was cool.
Brave Exvius is probably the best Final Fantasy mobile game, and I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
the Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition, I'm pretty sure did a crossover with Brave Exvius as well.
it probably did, but it's not hardcore into like it's not super hardcore JRPG. It's got some bits to it, but like it's just for the less serious people like me who are like, they're so cute. Ah, that's the best. I just thought that was really cute and figured I'd share with everybody because I thought that was pretty cool. Especially since I was like, there was another article that I saw that I was going to talk about, and then we talked about it a little bit. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll steer away from that because we've already talked about some pretty crazy shit. But it was just an article about Germany allowing Nazi propaganda now, and I'm like, damn. All right, that was. There's so much more into that article than that. Really, it's talking about how Germany's like, hey, it's a thing and we can't say it isn't. However, we can the way they look at it is like allowing it, and specifically in games is about the article, allowing games to use it to for a bigger purpose other than just to have
Yay!
fucking
Germany gets
Nazis.
Castle Wolfenstein. Sorry.
Like it's the reasoning is like, Germany can't say that Nazis aren't a thing or weren't a thing. So they're trying to allow more instances of it being available or having it more available in games because in their mind if a development team or if a company making this game can use the image for a greater purpose or to have it there for more than just there's a fucking zombie Nazi over there, like they feel like that helps give more meaning to why that was fucked up or
What this
whatever the
article
case
is
may be.
really saying is Germany is giving the green light for more Wolfenstein games. That's literally
That's
all
right.
it's saying.
That's basically all it is. But yeah, really thought provoking shit here.
Really
Interesting.
struck while the iron's hot, Germany.
Yeah,
I think it was
it
a
was
genius move on their part. I think it's
All
actually
those
kind of
Nazi
funny.
games that are coming out.
yeah. Well, and I thought it was an interesting concept because it was something like I didn't really think about because like going into it because I know how very much Nazism in general is not okay in Germany. Just it isn't. But to read the article and talk about how what their procedure is for games like because when it's an overseas game or something that isn't necessarily just specifically made in Germany, like it has to go through the approval to be sold and all that. So it was interesting to read how they try to go case by case because it's not just no Nazi propaganda. They're just like, no, it really depends on the context of where it is in the game. It depends on the greater idea of the game. Like just having just a swastika there doesn't necessarily make it a bad game, but there has to be some substance to it. Like it can't just be there for the sake of being there, or it can't necessarily like obviously promoting Nazi or neo-Nazism. Definitely, you don't get to be sold in Germany. But it was just an interesting read to realize that Germany's like, hey, this is a thing, and we're aware it's a thing. So we're trying to be better about allowing it to be a thing, while also trying to mitigate as much as possible it propagating that this is a good thing because we don't think it is. And I'm like, wow, all right. And that was the other cool thing, them talking about how it's not cut and dry as to say, okay, it can only do these things, it can't do these things. It's more of a no, it really depends on how it's being used in a game, how it's being presented, and all these other things. And it was just interesting. I was like, that's cool. Way to go, Germany. Glad you guys are saying, hey, Nazi is the thing. That was definitely a thing that happened, but it's not okay. Like that's definitely not. But it existed. So here you go. Here is the best way we can present it to you without you thinking that this is cool.
Well,
A government, especially Germany, concerned with context is hilarious to me.
I mean, I appreciate it nonetheless. I'm not saying you're wrong. However, I definitely appreciate that it's a thing.
all right. Well, we're deep into this. Let's get to. We should probably get to what we've played these past 2 weeks.
Okay, sounds good.
I mean, it's really easy to see what Austin's played because he streams all of it.
Indeed.
But let's talk about it.
All right, I'll go. So yeah, obviously Limbo, and then a couple days ago, when the new Spider-Man game came out, I've tried that out for like a half an hour ish, and I really want to go back through and like try it out again, just because there is so much that they're throwing out at you in the first half an hour of the game. And I was playing on like the hardest difficulty at first, and I turned it down partway through. Um, and I went back through and like watched my playthrough of Spider-Man and wrote down like all of the combos and just actions that they teach you in the first intro to the game. Um, so, and also because I had like frame rate issues, I'm thinking of just going and restarting back from the beginning. Especially when you're streaming, it's just super hard to like absorb all that information and actually, do what they're teaching you before they teach you something else. So, yeah, I really enjoyed it. It seems like a game that I'm going to have a lot of fun with. But because it's so intensive on the thumbs, and it's definitely plays like Arkham Asylum and just the mashing of the buttons, sometimes there is I'm finding a lot more variation than the Arkham games, but because of just like how intensive it is on the thumbs, I don't like I feel like I just shouldn't play it, basically. Like I shouldn't go from not playing at all to like playing a little bit of puzzle games to like the most thumb intensive games, or like one of them that I can think of. But because I want to play it so badly, I'm just like, well, what if I played it for like 15 minutes a week? Like I'm just I'm so compelled by the gameplay that I did get to check out and the story that I did get to see. Like it looks fantastic. I'm really looking forward to getting back into it and restarting, and I'll see if I can just stick to the spectacular difficulty. Because I feel like playing it on the hardest difficulty is what's going to push me to trying out the different combinations of fighting and not just doing the same repetitive stuff over and over again. Because, one thing I do like about the combat is there's more dodging than there was in the Arkham games. Like, in the Arkham games, it kind of felt like they were taking turns coming at you. Whereas with this, you just have to watch everybody's body language and there's like constant gunfire and constant dudes ready to beat you up at all angles, but you're just nimble little Spider-Man sliding between their knees and jumping all around. And I feel like playing it on that hardest difficulty is going to push me to like really try
I want
and
to talk
make
about.
use of everything.
I want to talk about how Peter Parker and Spider-Man as a character really don't like. They try their hardest not to kill people, except when it's in video game form. When you just straight up fucking murder everyone.
Just
You kick
exactly.
people off. You kick people off buildings. You can't tell me they're not dead.
I literally
like Batman.
garroted somebody the other day, and I was like, "Really? This isn't gonna kill him?" Like,
No, you're like that was something that I thought was really funny that they did in Batman Arkham. Like you would go into detective mode and you'd look at everybody and it would be like, "Oh no, they're unconscious." Bitch, are you high?
although come to
Just
think of it, in the Batman games, like you weren't as brutal as what I've seen Spider-Man do. Like Ian's saying, like literally kicking a dude off of the like. I mean, for me, it
I
was inside
saw.
a building, but it was
I
3
saw
stories.
fucking Liam from from the Super Best Friends. Not so much anymore. He does his own things, but I saw him post a video and he's like, "This guy's not dead," and he basically kicked a guy off the building, web slung him, and then Spider-Man did a front flip and slammed him straight into the ground in a 20-story building.
that guy's straight dead.
That
Like
guy's
he's
fine.
just fucking dead.
Wow, that's ridiculous. Yeah, I did
I
my,
don't know,
my
I
very
just-
first finisher move, just literally ringed a guy with a spider web, and like, okay, yeah, he's fucking dead.
It's just like,
He's
well,
fucking
he's just
dead.
fucking dead. There's just nothing else to do
I'm
about
gonna
it.
see if I can find that for you. Find that tweet for you.
Cool.
This
That's
guy's not
hilarious.
fucking dead.
But yeah, really enjoying that. But like I'm torn between, because I also like I'm most of the way through Limbo, and I've been really enjoying that game, and it's not brutal on my thumbs. And I was wanting to like go back and do 100% run, honestly, just because there's so much stuff I feel like I've missed, and that is really worth going back through and playing for me personally. So we'll see.
Limbo was a good game. That was actually one my brother recommended to me, and I was like, "This is really cool," and like, it was hilarious because he recommended that game and another game to me. But so I went up.
More like Murder Man. Yeah, there it is. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Murder Man.
But like Limbo was really cool, and it was one of those I played because he's just like it's not very long, so I played it all the way through. And when I finished it all without really doing anything, I just went upstairs and I looked at him. I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, did you like it? I'm like, yes, but dude, he's just like, yeah, isn't it great? And so I still have it on my Steam, and I think it's great. I love that game. I think it's super cool. I really wanted to do Inside because it had similar feel to Limbo. But
Yeah.
I've heard it's fucking heart wrenching, so I don't really want to get into that because I'm just a bitch.
Half the reason that I'm playing Limbo is because Inside got a 10 out of 10 by IGN.
Yeah, and that's what I heard. It was fucking amazing. I'm a pansy.
Oh,
I don't like to
I
cry.
watched the whole thing, and yeah, it's pretty damn good.
Hmm.
Pretty fucking good game.
Cool.
But what do you think of that, Austin?
That was fucking ridiculous. If you watch the podcast, you'll see my reaction to it. I can't give a more authentic
Like,
recreation,
oh.
but that was literally exactly as you described it. And it makes sense now. He was doing a finisher move, which is just what I was talking about. When I ringed the guy's
Yeah.
neck, it was my very first time doing that, where you press triangle and circle at the same time. And apparently, if you're on top of a building and you have a guy in midair and you press triangle and circle, you just launch them with extra velocity to make sure they're reaching terminal velocity at the pavement. And
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, he's
Like,
definitely not dead.
that's just the thing. Definitely not. Not at all.
Just real beat up like a thug.
Uh-huh.
Real beat.
Like, if there's a child on that sidewalk, they're just gonna see instant jam. Like,
Yeah,
they
for
might
sure.
not even have time to process the gore they just witnessed. It'll happen so fast. Like, It's
Just
brutal.
viscera right in their eye.
Yep, and
Just
yet
splat.
the camera's not even gonna look at that. We're just gonna go back to Spider-Man running on a building.
Just the gif of the kids screaming while with that iPad in the back of the car.
And
Yeah.
then Venom comes
Yeah.
up behind him and fucking swallows him whole and steals his balloon. Yep.
Damn.
Jason.
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 Jason Brody.
All right. So I played Monster Hunter like normal.
Did you? I never
No
would have
way.
guessed.
Right?
I'm starting to burn out on this game because I'm getting real sick of its bullshit hitboxes.
Huh.
If you want a great example, just look up hitboxes, Monster Hunter World hitboxes, and you will see what I've been dealing with, which is monsters that clearly don't even get close to me, but because their hitbox is super bullshit, they end up hitting me. And on top of that, what we're doing right now is grinding for decorations for our armor to give us certain abilities. And it's RNG on top of RNG on top of RNG.
Yeah, no thanks.
So it's
Yeah, that
like
sounds like fucking garbage.
killing, like capturing or killing finishing the hunt gives you an RNG of like one of a couple different types of face stones, and then you appraise the face stones, and then when you appraise a face stone, it's RNG on what tier of decoration you're going to get between C and S. Some face stones have a higher chance of giving you the better ones than the worse ones. And then on top of that, once it picks what tier the face stone, the decoration is, then it randomizes what gem from that tier you're going to be getting. So it's RNG on top of RNG on top of RNG.
Huh.
So it's like, let's say this: a threat level 2 tempered hunt has like say I want a Mushroomancer gem, which is an S tier jewel. So I have to do a threat level 2 tempered hunt, which has a 26% chance of giving me a a warped face stone, which is the highest tier of face stone. Then on top of that, it has that warped face stone has a 5% chance of giving me an S tier decoration. And then on top of that, Mushroomancer then has a fucking 12.5% chance of dropping from that S tier decoration. So it's 24. It's what is it? 12.5% of 5% of 24%. That's my chance of getting it.
Yeah, that's just disappointing. I would like expect more of them, but I mean, are you getting to like end game stuff?
Yeah, this is end game. We're in end game stuff. We have one more story mission to do. That's going to be a fucking nightmare. And after that, we have augmentation, but that is even further RNG. So,
Huh. Yeah, I would
And
just
then we have
hope that as the
Spare.
game gets more towards the end, they would rely on like other game mechanics and not just RNG more and more to fill your
I know
time.
this is Japan. This is Japan. It's RNG though.
Yeah, dude.
No, but Japan.
Even
So
if
yeah,
they weren't
if I want
padding
that
for
gem,
time,
sorry,
it
if
would
I
be
want,
RNG.
yeah, if I want that gem, I just did the math. It's a 0.15% chance of getting that gem.
Ugh.
So, in context, I would have to do probably
All that shit 1,000 times.
a thousand hunts before I get one of those gems.
God,
Yeah,
that's
no
just
thanks.
Yeah, that's just trash.
Mushroomancer has 5 levels.
Yeah, and Mushroomancer on top of that also has it has 3. It's 3 tiers.
Oh, okay.
But you can make armor that has these abilities, which So the thing about the decorations is it really bumps up how much like better you are in that game. Your armor gives you most of your stats, and then the armor has decoration slots, and in those decoration slots you can then put things that can make you even better. And then the icing on the cake of things that can make you even better are the augmentations.
Hmm.
So yeah, you just got to get the right jewels, and you got to get the right augmentations, and then you could do really well. But it just takes a ton of time that I don't know if I'm willing to devote to it. So taking a break from Monster Hunter since it's free. Anna and I played Destiny 2 last night.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
How was that?
I am not going to play that game unless I have someone else to play with. I have so I have so many complaints with that game. The
Yeah.
dialogue is fucking cliche and terribly written, and it's all shit that I heard 1,000 times before. The banter is fucking terrible. They force exposition down your goddamn throat. The loading screens are goddamn atrocious. It's a
The
fucking
loading screens are Bloodborne pre-patch levels.
They're so bad. And not only that, but the game will do a loading screen, play a cutscene, and then do another loading screen to take you into the game. They literally have a loading screen for a cutscene that should just be a fucking FMV.
Yeah, without getting too much into it, like I said last time, I've been very disappointed with what Destiny has turned out to be. In my recent understanding of like the key roles and who quit when. So yeah, it's fucking disappointing in a lot of ways. Really wish my favorite
It's
video
fun to
game
play with
company was
friends.
doing more.
It's just awful to play alone.
But with
Or with
someone else, it's
randos.
pretty fun.
The gunplay, like, it feels good to shoot a gun. You pop the enemies' heads and they die, and
You know
you
what
know
it feels
it
like?
works. It's a game, but like, it's just not fun without friends.
Yeah,
You know what that game is like? It's a boring Borderlands.
That's
It's
yeah.
Borderlands with a more bland personality.
Hmm.
If it were
yeah.
a spice, it would be flour.
Plain Jessica. If she were a spice, she'd be flour.
What's that from? That's clearly from something.
Bob's Burgers. That's
Bob's Burgers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's Louise.
What episode was that?
I don't
fucking
remember.
Wow. Yeah, I've been destroying Bob's Burgers. Like, I'm almost done on Hulu. And I didn't even catch that reference. Huh.
Well, here, hold on. I'll figure out what episode. So y'all keep talking.
Banter,
Anna
banter,
can go on
banter.
about what she's can go on about what she's been playing because she played Destiny 2 and Monster Hunter World with me, but we have the same feelings about both.
Yeah.
Pretty much. There was one outlier that I played. I played the God of War 3 remastered since it was free.
Yeah.
I beat it in a day.
Oh.
What? Like,
I beat it in less than 24 hours.
how many gameplay hours?
I'm not sure. I pretty much binged the whole time, just running around killing gods and stuff. It was really fun. You could definitely tell it's a product of the time. Like, it was, you can definitely tell it was around the time where, like, we just didn't know how to talk about our problems. So, like, the solution was just beat the shit out of it.
Yeah, I envy you being able to do that. I wish I could, like, sit down and play a game for that long.
The most interesting part about the whole thing is how it made me realize how much I don't actually like open world games.
Why's that?
Well, I like open world games just to get on and fuck around with, but for story reasons, open world games just cannot do it as well as linear games.
Okay.
Because I'm going to compare this to Breath of the Wilds because that's the only thing that comes to mind. On Breath of the Wilds, you're given one task, and that's kill Ganon. And, like, the rest of the world is your oyster. Well, that's fucking fantastic if you just want to go explore a world, but let's say you want, like, the story of Link. What is Link's purpose? Like, as far as you know, he's just a goober who wants to kill Ganon because he wants to bone Zelda.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
about it. But with Kratos, like, because of the linear story and like it forced basically holding your hand through all this crazy nonsense bullshit, I
Horse
remember a
crabs.
lot more of the sequences from God of War than I do of Breath of the Wilds.
okay.
Like Breath of the
It is
Wilds, I remember climbing a mountain and like killing a few things, but I couldn't like be all like, oh, that was my favorite mountain, or like, oh, that was my favorite enemy in like Breath of the Wilds, where like in God of War, I can be like, the Hades fight was really fun. The Poseidon fight was like fucking
horse crabs.
yeah, horse crabs.
Horse crabs. Huh.
So I think I was just thinking about this, and because basically when you said I want to compare it to Breath of the Wild because I can't think of anything else, and I'm like, why the fuck don't you compare it to the new God of War? Well, and I think I came up with the reason. There's a third sort of genre that has opened up in the past in recent years that is a kind of a melding between both. So you have open world, you have Breath of the Wild, and you have Skyrim, which is hey, kill Alduin, and that's it, and the world is your oyster. And you have Fallout, which I don't even fucking know what the point of Fallout is, and like, and
Fallout
even
3 was turn on water.
Take a
and
sip from your
fucking
trusty Vault 13 canteen.
um, and then even Borderlands is like, well, no, I'll use that as another example. But those are open world games. Those are the games that I probably like the least because there's like nothing. There's just fucking nothing. There's like there's no and like the story always suffers because of how open the world is. There's no way to actually deliver the story. Um, then you have linear games, games like God of War, games like Final Fantasy X, for example. Um, they're all linear. It is open world, kind of. Well, actually, no, no, that doesn't really. All right, let me try this again. Let me try this again.
You got this.
God of War 3 and God of War, those are linear experiences. You go through the game exactly the way they intend
The
you
develop.
to,
Oh,
and
that's
that's
something
how
else I
and
want
that
to bring up later.
and then like a game Evil Within is another one. You go through that game the way they intend you to. Resident Evil 4, you go through the way they intend you to. Like it's completely linear. There's one way to go about everything and you do it that way. And if you do that, you can get a pretty fucking good story out of it. You can get like a really really good story out of it. But I think the best example, the best games are the ones that combine both of them.
Right.
The
Absolutely.
the games that are linear to a degree, but you still have your open world tendencies. Final Fantasy X is a great example. You can go, it's linear up until like just before the final boss, then you can go anywhere you want. Final Fantasy 15 has linear parts, but it's open world to a degree. Every Dark Souls game and Bloodborne game, yes, there is an order in which you have to do things, but you do have some degree of open world ability to where you can just go and explore if you want to.
Pokemon?
Um, Pokemon is another like yeah, there's an order in which you do things,
Right.
but it's still open world. You still have to do these specific things in a specific manner, but it's still open world to a certain degree. And the new God of War is the same exact way. There's a linear story that you have to follow, but there are things you can do on the side that enhances the world. Basically, the linear aspects tell the story, the open world builds the world. You need both. You can't have one without the other and expect a good product.
So I have a point that I wanted to make too, but Anna, did you say that you had something? First of all.
Oh, it feels kind of like a cop out on the developers, like the actual developer side, like the director, the person who's in charge of fucking everything. Kind of feels like a cop out when they just like fuck it, open world. Where while I was playing God of War, as Kratos, I felt like the developer was very intentionally being like, no, motherfucker, we have a story to tell, and like, we're gonna fucking tell it, you're gonna have fun, and, we're gonna, like, go our separate paths at the end of it, and hopefully we'll both fucking learn something about ourselves. It's fucking great.
That's kind of refreshing to see nowadays when there's open world games that are uninteresting. It's cool to see a game like that that just takes the world by storm, that does really well, gets a 10 out of 10 review, and it's just set on taking you through its path, the story. There's very few games like that.
It's so linear, you don't even have control of your camera. There is no camera control. It's always fixed.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
So here's a good example, and exceptions to the example. In an open world game where it's truly open world and the story takes it like a backside, and you only have one goal and then you have to figure out the entire world. Basically, you have a gigantic world built, and you have this wonderful universe that you can explore in, but you have no purpose. Your only purpose is this one goal, and the way you get there is fine, it's whatever, but there's no real good sense of purpose.
Yeah.
You go through the whole fucking game and you can never beat it because the world will wait for you until you decide to beat it.
The initiative has to fall on the player, not the developer.
Which is fine. Initiative can fall on the player all they want, but when the apocalypse has literally been happening for 300 in-game days, but the final blow hasn't been delivered because the game has been waiting for you to initiate that sequence, I hate that. That's bullshit.
Yeah, it takes away the sense of urgency for sure.
It really does. And a game that does that to a T is Skyrim. Skyrim is so bad about that.
Yeah.
Like Alduin will just literally sit there flying, waiting for you to attack him. And if you don't, you could just walk away and keep doing shit and then come back. Not how things work. It's not how things work at all.
Final battle.
I feel like there are some exceptions to this. There are some exceptions to this where like you can have an open world and the game itself and the story, and you had a good sense of purpose
right
to it.
Well, that's the point that I was going to make is
the original Legend of Zelda. The original Legend of Zelda is truly open world. You were not even given a goal. You were just told to go out and do shit, and you had to figure out stuff for yourself. But the world building, even though there wasn't a ton, still felt like really good, and it felt awesome when you took off on boss and dungeon after dungeon, and there was a good sense of completion, and it was great. And I feel like that's the exception to the truly open world rule. Now, on the other spectrum, take a linear game that gives you all of the purpose you need to, but it feels like it's hollow. There are tons of these. There are tons of these games. Final Fantasy Dirge of Cerberus. Fucking the Super Best Friends just beat Marlowe Briggs, which is one of those games where it feels like there's no fucking purpose to it, but it's a linear story. There are tons of games like this.
Right.
But one exception to it is Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 is a truly linear game where like you go through the story as it's intended, and this story is being told. But the reason the world actually and the reason why there's good context to it and the world feels like it's fleshed out is because it's the fourth sequel in a series, and the series already fleshed everything out for you. And then you were given more context to it by stuff and events that occur during the story. And it did a good job of building the world, but if they focus less on its own story by doing so.
It was really weird how Leon went from like a wimp cop to a badass in like a
Mhm.
series of a car crash.
Um, so so, and then you get to the games that combine both, and that's why these games are so good. Is you can rely on the open world facets to build the world and make this feel like a gigantic experience with a new world, but you can also rely on linear storytelling to actually give you a purpose. And God of War, the new one, is fucking a great example of this. Like the world building when you go out and kill the Valkyries or you go out and do the side quests for everyone really does make the world feel flesh out and big and really just thick. And then when you do the linear story itself is compelling, and the stuff you did while world building um, feeds into that, and then the stuff you did in the linear story also feeds into the world building, and it's just very seamless, very nice. Not to mention that if you pay attention, that entire game is done without cutting the camera once. It's literally just one camera take throughout the entire game, which I thought was super fucking cool.
Hmm.
But then you have examples of games that do this poorly, where the linear story didn't give you any purpose, but the world building also didn't give you anything to go with. Like that didn't feel like the world was fleshed out, and I can't think of one. Um,
I can think
uh,
of a couple. So there's these really weird open world games where the only thing it has going for it is a movement gimmick. A pretty big one is Infamous.
yeah, for sure.
Infamous, Prototype. I'm trying to think of another one. There's a
Well, I
bunch of
still
them that
liked
are
exploring
only.
prototype. I mean, I think that would just be an example of a game that has like fun open world mechanics for its time that just had a shitty story. Personally,
It
that's
was
the
fun
camp that I
because
would
it had a
argue it's
really
in.
fun. Yeah, it was fun because it had a fun movement gimmick.
Right. Well, yeah, I guess. Well, I mean, there was like the disguise thing, and the combat in itself was varied enough that it kept me like engaged at the time. I mean, this is like a 10-year-old game, but I felt like Prototype I liked for more than just that movement gimmick alone.
Trying to think of another example.
The point I was going to make a while ago is I heard reviews or read reviews of Spider-Man before the game came out that were basically all saying um, the story is like one of its strongest points. So I'm really looking forward to that and hoping it'll be one of the games that has a cool and engaging open world while also still focusing on the while having a interesting story that you want to get yourself invested in. So hopefully that's the case.
I hope so.
Are any of you planning on
anyway,
getting that game?
no, don't care about superheroes.
Probably not.
Honestly, I was super into all the Spider-Man games when they were all coming out, as garbage as they are now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm super interested as long as it turns out to not be a steaming pile of shit.
Yeah, and that's
Like
the
every
same camp
single
that I
one
was in. Is I played a bunch
since
of PS2 Spider-Man or GameCube Spider-Man, and
Yep.
liked it a
Spider-Man
lot.
2.
Exactly.
So that's what I've been playing and what Anna's been playing. Uh,
Hold.
well,
So Mickey, what have you been playing?
Bitch, I've been working. I haven't done jack shit. I got a job like 2 days after I got here. I haven't done shit.
all right then. What have we been watching?
Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, we watched Spider-Man 3. What is it? Night before last. Man, that movie's bad.
It's not great, but you know what? I feel like it's okay.
um, uh, Haley's sister-in-law introduced me to a YouTube channel where this guy forges. He just has a forge. He's a blacksmith, but instead of being like Man at Arms, that forging channel where they do a huge ass big ass nerd build, but they condense it all down to like 25 minutes. This guy is like, I'm going to make a traditional falchion, and I'm going to take 13 30-minute long episodes to show you every single step of the process.
It's super cool.
Yeah, it was super entertaining. It was really, really fun to watch. I mean, he's got that YouTuber vibe about him, like the quintessential stereotypical YouTuber. Hey, how's it going, everyone? Like type vibe, and it's a little grating at first, but after that, it was it was very fun to watch, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I think it's Alex Steele,
Cool.
something like that.
Could
I
you
would
send me
recommend
a
it.
link?
It's a good YouTube channel.
Could you send me a link to his channel, Ian?
Oh yeah. Let me see if I can fucking find it.
Thanks.
What
Ooh.
else is there? Not just my normal watching stuff. I can't think of anything we've watched recently.
Yeah, it's
Can
pretty
you?
much the same thing for me too. I've just been watching a lot of the same old stuff. So, Bob's Burgers and Fallout, for the most part, when I get the chance to watch something.
I mean, I feel like Bob Burgers was new, but I can't remember if you started watching that last time or not.
Oh, I've been watching that for like months now. Yeah, just powering through the last 3 seasons. I'm like almost at the end, and I'll have to find something else.
I would strongly recommend Golden Girls.
Dude, Golden Girls is fucking great.
What is it?
So it was this older show. The entire premise is it's these fucking retirees in Florida, and they're living together, and it's just all the fucking adventures they have, and it's
and Betty
amazing.
White is in it. Yeah, Betty White is in it, and fucking yeah, it's just three old ladies like living together.
And it's
But
amazing.
man, it tackles really good subject matter, and it's also fucking hilarious.
Huh. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's something that I continuously heard about, and I was like, whatever. And I finally, because it's on Hulu, I was like, you know what? I'll sit down and watch the first couple episodes. And it's just the characters are just, they have all of their own dynamics that, contrast and whatever. But like they're so entertaining, and like their dynamics with each other are so fun. And it's just a good show. And there's like, oh yeah, there's plenty of shit they talk about that you're like, damn, all right, cool. Like, it fucking talks about like, fucking, it has an entire episode dedicated to like the feelings you get when you get fucking robbed and like gun like possession, and it's great. I love it.
And it was a show in the like the mid '80s. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll check it out.
Yeah,
The Arthur.
It's really funny.
Yeah.
What have you guys been watching, Anna and Haley?
Sorry, I kind of expected Anna to say something before I did, so I just waited.
Oh, sorry. Hello?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay. That was weird.
What you been watching?
Trying to remember. I watched a video that I wanted to talk about, but I've been watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged.
Oh,
How's
yeah?
that?
Fucking hilarious. Imokuba, I got you a present. It's called being stabbed in the eye. I hope you don't already have one.
Yeah. Isn't that Team 4-Star?
No, but it's made with close. They're close friends to Team 4-Star.
Yeah. I showed you Helsing Abridged, didn't I?
Oh yeah,
Austin?
that was hilarious.
Oh my god, I
And
love
then,
Helsing
as well-
Abridged.
Have you watched Sword Art Online Abridged
No,
yet?
it's in my list of things to watch.
Okay, you should definitely watch it because I am a thorough believer that that version of Sword Art Online is better than the actual anime itself.
Yeah.
Why
I
did you say
felt I.
yes? I don't know.
Why did you say yes? I don't know. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's fucking great. I felt more for the characters in the abridged version than I did for the characters in the actual one.
Well, that says something. Okay. Yeah, I want to check it out for sure. It's just I got a long list of other things I also want to watch, as that nature of list goes.
Yep. Um, there was one video that I am very happy I watched. It's from I'm a big fan of Hot Ones. You guys watch Hot Ones?
No, I've never heard of
It's
it.
it's it's an interview show where fucking guy named Sean Evans
Oh, it's so good.
interviews celebrities like A-list celebrities and really like popular people while eating increasingly hotter chicken wings.
Oh, okay. That's definitely a premise that I've seen before.
It's great. It's so good. Sean Evans is a fantastic interviewer. Like he is just charismatic and he really fucking rolls with it. He was made to do this, and they got like a lot of big name people on it. And like since the wings get hotter, they're more of their natural like oh fuck this personality comes out, and it's amazing. The
Huh.
most recent one that it's not the most recent one, but the most recent one I've seen is when they got Jeff Goldblum on.
Oh yeah.
Jeff
Such a good
Gold,
one.
that episode was fucking hilarious.
Cool.
So I would recommend Hot Ones. They got a large catalog of 6 seasons. Definitely check it out.
Sweet. Can you send me the link to that too?
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's a show on a channel called First We Feast. So First We Feast has a bunch of other stuff.
Okay. Anything else that you've been watching, Anna?
I guess if we're talking about YouTube channels, there's this YouTube channel I'd like to do a quick shout out to. Fucking it's kind of a meme channel for Dark Souls, for like all the Dark Souls games, called Limit Breakers.
Limit
Okay.
Breakers is so good. Limit Breakers is so fucking funny. That's
He
where
just
Catacomb Crab came from.
Yeah, Catacombs Crab.
Huh.
He just recently uploaded a video where it is a hour and a half long, and it is the slowest stamina regen possible. And he didn't cut a single fucking frame.
Wow.
So you just sit there for like a fucking hour just watching this bar slowly race.
At the end, does he do like
Yeah,
two
he
fat
did
rolls?
like a he did like a he does like a thing at the end where he talks about like other stuff that has to do with stamina, but his biggest thing is useless data, which he talks about like how the finer things of Dark Souls and the engine itself works. And like at the very end he'll be like, and thank you for wasting 25 minutes on this useless data that you will never use anywhere else.
It's beautiful.
He has ones that are like, can you survive the strongest attack in Dark Souls? Spoiler alert,
like-
no you can't.
And here's why.
Even with the highest defense, the most health, even breaking the game to give you everything, you still can't survive in Dark Souls 3. You still can't survive it.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the maximum absorption possible?
Which is like 99% or something like that.
What
Oh,
can
wow.
you turn the weakest attack into a one-hit kill? That kind of stuff.
The answer is yes, you can.
Wow.
Now
Is
that
it
one, I'm glad
possible
the
to
answer
deal
is
zero
yes.
damage?
Is it possible to do what damage?
0 damage.
No, it's not.
And my favorite, Why Life is Strange is my worst game of all time.
Oh.
Is my worst game of all time? What?
Why Life is Strange is my worst game of all time is a video he uploaded. It's 55 seconds long and it's fucking hilarious.
I think I've seen that one. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
Would
Yeah,
you
Limit
mind
Breakers
sending me
is
the link to that,
great.
Anna?
I absolutely will because it's fucking hilarious.
Awesome. Cool. Haley, what have you been watching?
So there was a channel I got into called if I want to make sure I get this right. I think it's called Extra Credit History. That I started watching. And it's just I'm a history nerd and I just think people who are dead are cool. Um but like I started watching it because I think Catherine the Great is fucking the real MVP. I think that woman is amazing. Like I think she's awesome. And I watched this whole big series that they did about her and talking about like all the super cool shit she tried to do and like just and it was really cool and I started watching a lot more because it talks about like people, it talks about the Battle of Thermopylae, which is what 300 is based off of. And it's got a bunch of just history shit that I think is super cool and you learn about people and I recently started getting into that and that's pretty nice.
The reason why it stands out from like just learning in a history class is it in history they gloss over a ton of stuff, and this one they go so fucking in depth with every tiny little thing
Yeah.
about every tiny little person. It's great.
Yeah, and I'm a huge fan. I think it's cool.
Huh.
It makes it seem more than just you're telling me about some shit that happened and it's no longer relevant.
I think I did it.
You
Sorry.
think you did it? You either did or
I
you
sent
didn't.
the link.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sweet. Yeah, I see it. Thank you.
But
Sorry.
yeah, extra
Sorry,
credit history. I started watching. I was watching it before, but I started watching a fuck ton more of True Facts from Zefranc, just because those are all fucking hilarious, and I love that guy. I really haven't been watching a ton of else other than just Vine compilations, and there was a Viner. Not recently. It was probably about a week ago now. Do you remember what his name is, Ian?
Sorry, I'm watching the fucking video, and yeah, it's exactly what I thought it was. It's so fucking funny.
Letting me down. There's a Viner I recently found, and he's fucking hilarious, and I love him so much. And I wish I could remember his name because he just consistently is like one of the funniest dudes I've ever seen. But yeah,
His
I
name is
haven't been
Matt
watching
something.
a ton. Yeah, it's Matt something, and I wish I could remember what it fucking is. But he's really funny. I recently watched a fuck ton of his vines. But yeah, my hours have been weird, so I haven't done a fuck ton in regards of like watching.
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you, and I'm sure you can guess it. For the two channels that you did just tell us about, can you send me the link?
Yeah, hold up.
Thank you very much.
Let's move on to what we've been listening to.
Cool.
This includes podcasts and stuff, which Super Best Friends, on the 11-hour drive down to Utah, we listened to one of the Super Best Friends podcasts, and it lasted us until we got to Missoula, Montana. So that was nice, and it was good to listen to those guys on the first leg of that fucking huge ass journey. But we listened to a lot of stuff on that drive. Listened to Opeth and Ninja Sex Party and fucking Dream Theater and yeah, we listened to a lot of stuff on that car ride. But
yeah,
recently, yeah, it was just 11 hours. We started at 2:00 in the morning and got here at like 2:45, which we're an hour ahead of you guys, by the way. So.
Oh, weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're on mountain time. So that was a thing. But recently, in my car right now, because my taped auxiliary broke, I've been listening to CDs again. So right now I got Periphery 3, Select Difficulty going, and that's a great album. I love that one. I've also fallen back on listening to Unknown Mortal Orchestra, both the 2 album and the Multi Love album. Sure, just both just fucking phenomenal albums. And then I'm also listening to Pink Lemonade from Closure in Moscow again. I'm giving it a re-listen after not listening to it for about a month, and yeah, that album is really fun. It's so weird and proggy and rock. It's delicious. It's a very very good album.
Cool.
Those are the music That's the music I've been listening to. Oh, and Mastodon. I've been listening to more of Mastodon's early stuff off of Leviathan and Crack the Sky. And fucking what's the relapse? I think it's not relapse, but it's something like that. And Mastodon are just great. Mastodon are fucking great.
Woo.
Oh, and Bro Job. I've been listening to Bro Job.
Really?
Yeah, Bro Job's awesome. My favorite song, I don't remember what the one it's called, but it starts out with the phrase, "This is the sound of 1,000 clapping asses."
Oh.
Oh yeah, sorry, to go back on watch, there was a channel, and I can't fucking remember what it's called, but they did a bunch of videos on people trying to guess things about a group of people. So like they would stand in the middle of an arc of people, and they would try to guess everyone's fears or what kinks they were into, or if they were like
Oh, it
a
was
United
super
States
fun.
citizen, or trying to match the tattoo to the person. It was really cool. It was a really cool little
Yeah.
series.
It was really fun to watch. It was pretty interesting. My favorite, we were watching Guess People's Kinks, and it was just this big, just black dude. He was super cool, and they were like, "Is it feet?" He's like, "Hell yeah, it's feet." And somebody was just like, "If you had to choose between a hand job and a foot job, what would you do?" And he's like, "Oh my god." He's like, "Foot job, for sure." And I
Every
just,
time.
every time.
It was
Like,
fucking
that dude was
hilarious.
just great.
It was funny. That whole series of videos was fucking excellent.
Yeah.
And they're based out of Seattle too.
Yeah.
Huh. Of course they are.
So other than that, I haven't been listening to much else. I mean, that's a pretty good catalog of what I've been listening to for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah. I've been listening to some more of the IGN podcasts like I do. And actually at PAX last weekend, I met Ryan McCaffrey, the host of the Unlocked podcast. So it's a pretty cool, like almost surreal experience of meeting somebody who I've been listening to for like months now. Just shaking his hand and telling him like, "Good job, dude. I'm digging what you're doing," kind of a deal.
I remember when Mark Holcomb of Periphery came to Spokane to do a clinic at Pond One, and I got to meet him, and that was fucking great. That was super cool. He's one of my favorite guitarists of all time, and I got to meet him, and he played some of Periphery songs, and got to ask him some questions. Everyone was asking him like,
cool.
Everyone's asking like, what's your inspiration for the music you write? You know, like normal, just like they answer this stuff all the time.
Right.
But I took it upon myself to ask some questions that I knew that people were like, "Hey, Mark, what have you been listening to recently?" Because that obviously inspires him a lot. What he's been listening to recently, and like,
Right.
hey, I can't. Everyone was asking about Periphery, and I was like, "Hey, what about Haunted Shores? Any new Haunted Shore stuff coming?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah." And I was like, "Yeah," and I'm super excited. So that was super awesome when I met him. It was like a surreal experience.
Yeah. Well,
It's
speaking of
cool to
Periphery,
it's cool to meet someone you look up to.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of Periphery, I actually downloaded like my first ever Periphery song. Or I guess I got a couple of them. I count 3, no 4. And I like haven't even like listened to these, or if I have, then I wasn't even aware that it was Periphery. But
You say downloaded. Do you mean
still
iTunes downloaded
No.
or LimeWire downloaded?
Still, I'm broke right now. I get paid next Friday, but the last
Listen.
few weekends I've been like getting music on a weekly basis. And this weekend I was still craving music, so I just kind of went to some stuff that I'm not sure if I'll buy this. I got a lot of music that I'm not sure about. Like I got Girl Talk, and I'm actually not super stoked on that. So I probably won't go back and buy it. But yeah, I got like a Tron song and a Periphery stuff.
Yeah.
I went back and got Cool Patrol.
Yeah, Cool Patrol so good.
Yeah, so
Well,
that's.
which Periphery songs?
Oh,
I only ask because they're like my top 3 favorite bands of all time.
Stranger Things, Heavy Heart, Catch Fire, and Loon.
All right, Stranger Things, Heavy Heart are both off of. Stranger Things is one of, I think it might be my favorite song of theirs.
Oh,
It's
really?
just it's super, yeah, it's super cool. Heavy Heart is pretty okay off of the double album they had for Alpha and Omega.
Right.
Catch Fire is fucking, it's so different from everything else they've ever done, but it
Huh.
was also a ton of fucking fun, and I do really like that song.
Okay.
And Loon, I think the band said that that's their favorite song they've ever made.
Really? Good
Yeah.
to know. Okay. Yeah, I just picked like 4 at random, just like some of the first results from YouTube. But yeah, I mean, if I like them a lot, then I'll be sure to go back through and give them money and get more songs. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's about it for what I've been listening to, I think.
What about my bad?
I've just been listening to a lot of fucking Steven Universe. That's all I've been into.
Yeah. Steven
I
Universe
love
songs
that
are
show.
the shit.
I just love them. They're great. That show is amazing.
Hmm.
I
And
don't
Anna?
know what else to say.
Oh, sorry. Yep. Enough said, you could say.
I recently dug through my hard drive that I recompiled, or not recompiled, but it got corrupted and I had to salvage the data off of it.
Oh, okay.
And I finally just went through and looked at all of uh, the music that I had, and it's really difficult because they're all like when it got corrupted and I had to try and save them all. They got replaced with numbers, so I have no fucking clue what they are. And
Perfect.
I recently found my big storage folder of GameCube game OSTs. So,
Oh, wow.
Oh
including
shit.
Mario Sunshine, which I'm super excited for.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah. There's Resi 4. Let's see, what are the ones? Mario Sunshine, Mario Odyssey? I think it was.
Odyssey is not a GameCube.
Yeah, that came out recently.
Odyssey is not GameCube.
Galaxy?
That's a Wii.
Yeah, I can't think of the other.
Luigi's Mansion.
That's what it is.
I definitely have that one. I'd have to go back and like go through all of them, and again, they're all numbers, not whatever, to tell you what ones I have. But I have a fuck ton of them.
Sure.
Is what you're trying to say.
All right. Well, in the
Um,
interest of time, and I'm trying to get some food here soon, should we talk about food?
Yeah.
Hell
Since
yeah.
we're in Utah, we've had a bunch of shit.
I was gonna say Ian's had a bunch of new shit. I just get a bunch of old shit that I'm still a huge fan of.
The sushi
Fair enough.
restaurant that she's working, the sushi restaurant that she's working at, we got some food from that. And it was pretty damn good. They have poke, which is something I haven't had since I was in Hawaii, since when I was like 17, something like that. Poke's delicious.
Mm.
Had scones, which are, you remember the scones, right? Both of you?
What do you mean, the scones?
The
I
scones
remember scones.
that Haley made you. The deep fried things that with the honey butter.
Oh shit, yeah. I thought you meant like scones from a sushi place. It's like that's a
No.
cool sushi place.
You were like, dude, I'm a little confused, actually.
No, the Mormon scones, and yeah, man, they're the size of your
Right.
face, and the honey butter is artery clogging, and it's so good.
It's a great time.
within where we live, I could say we have 50 restaurants and like 17 of which are fast food restaurants. There's also a Walmart and a Target and a PetSmart and a Petco and a fucking movie theater and a mall all within like a square mile of where we live. Not to mention, but we also have fiber internet. So that was great to
Yeah.
figure out.
Hmm. Very nice. That's a good variety of local restaurants, I'm assuming. Because
Yep.
that's a
Oh,
big
yeah.
difference from Spokane and our fucking record holding strip of fast food chains.
Record holding strip of 13 mattress stores in a row.
Yeah, right?
We like mattresses. What can we say?
That's what I was stoked about.
I was stoked about the lime Rickies. I fucking miss
Oh,
those.
and the lime rickies. Oh my god, the lime rickies are so good. Yo, you guys, the drive-throughs have the drive-throughs. The gas stations have drive-throughs here.
Oh,
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
How
you,
does
you
that
So,
can
work?
go up. You can go up to the
Um,
convenience store. You can go up to the convenience store that's attached to the gas station with a drive-through, and you can be like, "Hey, I want 2 packs of cigarettes and a bottle of Coke," and they'll be like, "That'll be this much," and then they'll just give it to you through the window.
Huh, okay.
and then you drive
Makes
off
sense.
like a drive-through.
Yeah, why don't we have those here? That sounds much
I don't
better.
fucking know. Real
I was-
great.
I was used to them being up here, and then I fucking moved to Spokane. I'm like, why can't you just go through the drive-through? There isn't one. What the fuck do you mean there isn't one?
Yeah, that seems pretty silly.
One thing that's taking a little bit of getting used to is the Air Force Base is like a mile away from our house. So
I
when the stealth fighter jets are practicing their maneuvers, they do it right over our house, and it's really loud.
I feel like a mile is a little gracious. I don't feel like it's quite that far.
But they're stealth fighter jets, so it's quiet, right?
No.
Well, I mean, no.
That's the way that works?
Well, so I mean, technically, I'm sure the jets are pretty quiet themselves. However, the air seems to take offense to the jets existing, so they just make a ton of noise.
Yeah, like was it like 90% of the noise that you hear from a jet taking off isn't actually the engines, it's the air being ripped apart by the engines and the jet flying through it.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. But yeah, they just fly overhead just all the time. It is a consistent like.
Anna has
They-
heard it over the mic when we were playing together.
Oh yeah.
Yup.
They're just fucking the way I knew that like where I was at was when we first got here and I clunked the fuck out. I was exhausted. I woke up to a jet and my first thought was and then I was like, wait. And then I just laid there and I was like, yeah, that's right. I'm back here. We're good. It's okay. Cause yeah, I could throw a rock at the jets as they're taking off. That's almost how close they are. Just
But yeah, that's what we had to eat.
yeah.
I didn't really go anywhere special personally. I went to Veggie Grill a couple times when I went to PAX, and then to just like a walk-in, grab a slice pizza shop, and like this juice place down there. But I was planning on going to like trying to sample some things out while I was downtown last weekend, but instead just stuck with what I knew and what was close by, so I can get back to PAX as soon as possible. So. Just lots of Veggie Grill, which is good shit.
Oh
That's
hell
good.
yeah, man.
And Anna,
About 2 days ago, I made slow roast pulled pork. That was pretty good.
oh fuck.
And instead of using that sweet and sour sauce, I used like a mixture of that and also barbecue sauce, and it turned out really well.
Ooh.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, that sounds fucking delicious.
Scrum diddly.
Yeet.
Scrum
I
diddly.
also have. Oh, sorry, say again.
Scrum
Scrumptious.
diddly.
Yes.
Scrum diddly.
Short for Scrum
I also have
Diddlyumptious.
another bit of gaming news that literally just popped up.
Okay.
Battlefield 5 open beta is now open on PlayStation 4.
Huh.
Oh.
Open for
Really?
downloads. Yup.
Oh. I
Is it
know what
free?
I'm not going to be clogging up my
Oh.
hard drive with.
What I just grabbed it.
I know what I
It's-
might
Oh.
be clogging up my hard drive with.
Battlefield 5 open beta. It's going to take 7 hours.
Wow. That's
Well-
that's pretty tempting, actually. It's good
Yeah,
to know.
so that
Um,
just dropped.
So, at the end of the podcast, I'd like to state that I later today will probably be on Destiny 2 while Haley's at work.
Sister
And
streaming.
I have maybe streaming. If you want to join us, you can. But then again, your thumbs are a problem, so I might be able to stream if you want.
Well, I just mean
um,
like, would you be streaming so I could watch, kind of a deal?
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not no pressure. It just sounded like that's where you're going with that. So
Yeah, whether or not you wanted to join or just watch a stream, I could totally do that. I'll probably be on if you want to join later, Anna, because it sounds like your download's not going to be done by the time we're going to start that.
It definitely wouldn't be done.
So,
But
we'll-
after the podcast, I have to go out and do more logging. So
well, let me know when you're back from that.
you'll, what did they say? Timber Maiden?
Oh,
I think that's
That's what-
applicable.
Huh?
well,
Uh,
let's everyone stay quiet.
Sounds like a stand.
A stand. That's my stand, is being quiet.
You can't handle my stand.
okay, I'm over it.
Oh, no.
Oh no!
I think I need to
Oh
stop
my
saying
God.
spoonerisms because I meant that sounds like a stand, short for sounds like a stand plan. But I can't just assume that all of my friend circles hear me say stand plan often enough that I can now abbreviate a spoonerism. I think I need to just
I mean,
cut with the spoonerisms.
I
You
don't
just made a
think-
Or
JoJo
you should
reference and
double
didn't even
down
realize
on
it.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fucking double or nothing, man.
I guess either way would solve it. I either stop using them or I solely
Use them
communicate
more.
with spoonerisms so that everybody just understands.
So everybody's just constantly aware of them.
Yeah.
We invent our own language.
That's right.
All right. Well, I'll see y'all.
Oh god.
Oh, I'll probably see Anna later today. I'm definitely going to see Haley in like 3 fucking seconds. But I'll see Austin maybe on the stream tonight if I do it.
Cool.
Other than that,
Uh,
in 2 weeks.
I will try to be home
Sweet.
for that. So, again, I don't know. We work till dusk till dawn. So,
Yeah.
Alright.
If you're working till dusk, it's probably not going to be till 8.
yeah.
So, and which for me is going to be 9. So join if you can. Join if you
Alright.
can. I'll message you, Austin, to let you know if I'm doing it or not.
Cool.
And yeah, that'll be that.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. Talk to you guys later.
All right. All right.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. So I just got a really annoying notification. Apparently I just subscribed to some fucking, like, so I went to this website, Tom's Guide, yesterday.
Okay.
For, I don't know what article I was looking at. Oh, it was iPhone shit. And there was like this, the pop-up that I guess I just didn't read it, and it was, I was assuming it was about, like, tracking your history and shit, like a lot of websites have nowadays.
Yeah.
And it looked just like one of those. I was like, all right, allow. And now I have a virus. No, just kidding. Now I got this fucking notification from Tom's Guide. Apparently, I like subscribed to some fucking notification list. So now I just got a fucking notification popping up saying some advertising bullshit. And I'm not gonna have that playing on the podcast. So
Trying to get that all figured out. Okay.
yeah, I'm gonna turn the
Yeah.
notifications off in Chrome. I've done this before. I just don't remember how I got there.
Maybe
T-Bun,
not.
what the fuck are you chewing on? Hold on.
I feel that.
Same.
Both my rabbits, however, are unconscious next to my suitcase, so we're good.
How did you get back there?
Story of my life, Anna. Story of my life.